Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Fem Naruto Magnet release. Last part, if you enjoy it then please like, share and do comments. In the village called Konohagakure no Sato, if you looked closely you could see a 12-year-old child running from several adults. The child had spiky red hair. She had dark red eyes and on her cheeks were 3 whisker-like marks. She wore a white t-shirt with a red spiral on the back, and a pair of black shorts. Around her neck was a medallion made of silver with the symbol of a 9-tailed fox on it. Her name was Uzumaki Naruko, the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko. "Come back here, you little brat," one of the men chasing her yelled. The reason these men were chasing her was simple. Naruko was the biggest prankster in the village, and had pranked the men, who had decided she had gotten away with enough and were going to punish her. Naruko just laughed as she swung her arm, first to a stand, then towards the men. Then several frying pans and similar objects flew at them from the stand. In addition to being a Jinchuriki, this was another oddity about her. She could magnetize objects and control them using her chakra by converting it to magnetic forces. Hokage Gigi had called it Jishin. She didn't really understand it, but she fully embraced it, having mastered the ability by using it in her pranks. "You'll never catch me," she laughed as the men were knocked over, leaving them cursing as she disappeared from view. Naruko stopped and leaned on a tree to catch her breath. She had run all the way up to the forest on top of the Hokage mountain. "Well, I think I lost them," she said to herself and decided to spend some time in the forest, to let her chasers calm down. After walking around for a while she stepped through a few bushes and heard wood groan, before the ground gave away underneath her, causing her to fall screaming and tumble down a steep passage before finally coming to a stop inside a big room. Groaning, she sat up and looked around, prompting her face to assume a dumbstruck expression. Silver, there was silver everywhere. She couldn't believe her luck, she had fallen into a silver mine. She loved silver. She quickly stood up and dusted herself off before setting to explore the mine. A few hours later she climbed out of the mine, noticing it was starting to get dark. The mine was massive. She had spent hours simply exploring it, before setting to use her Jishin to break off some of the silver to bring with her. She found manipulating the silver came easier than most other metals, and her pockets were now filled with it. A grin was on her face as she walked towards her home. Not only had she found a mine full of her favorite material, but it also effectively made her rich. Tomorrow she was going to buy so much stuff, after a visit to her Gigi. 4 years later, at the age of 16, she had graduated from the Ninja Academy and was currently sitting in front of the Hokage after taking her ninja ID. She wore a long-sleeved fishnet shirt with a black and yellowish-orange-colored long-sleeved jacket with a red spiral of her clan on the back and on the sleeves over it. She wore black pants and her right leg was bandaged on her thigh, with a kunai holster on top of it, which held her special, homemade silver kunai. She also had a utility pouch at the small of her back. Around her neck she still wore her silver medallion underneath her jacket. Her hair was in the same style from 4 years ago. She also wore open-toed black sandals. Her long, black-clothed hite was worn on her forehead. Life had been good to her after she found the silver mine. Very few people knew about it, the Hokage being one of them. She was able to use the silver to buy a good apartment and anything she needed. She had also discovered a way to use the silver as a weapon, by grinding it into silver sand. She kept this sand in 2 seals on her upper arms that acted as a sort of portals, both leading to a dimension void that she had filled with her silver sand. When she wanted to use the sand she simply needed to open the seals and draw the sand out. Hokage Gigi had been amazed when she had shown it to him, claiming that Jikukan ninjutsu was a feat few had accomplished, his sensei the Naidame Hokage, and her father being 2 of them. "Well, everything seems to be in order, you're free to go, Naruko-chan," the Sandame said. Naruko jumped to her feet and thanked him before a young boy charged into the room, yelling, "Gigi! Fight me! The title of Godem Hokage belongs to me, Konohamaru," before tripping on his own scarf, causing Naruko to laugh loudly. Konohamaru got up asking, "Is this a trap?" as a ninja barged in and took in the scene, before asking Konohamaru, "Are you okay, young master? There are no traps by the way." Konohamaru spotted Naruko and walked up to her pointing. "I got it. You did something, didn't you?" Naruko stopped laughing at this. getting pissed off and grabbing the boy's scarf and pulling him to her eye level. "You tripped on your own scarf. Don't go blaming other people for your mistakes, you little brat. Hey, let go of him. He is the grandson of the great Sandaime Hokage." The other man, Ebisu, yelled at her. "Huh?" Naruto said and looked disbelievingly at the boy in her grasp, who grinned at her arrogantly, thinking she wouldn't dare do anything to him. "What's the matter? Why don't you hit me if you can? You're no match for a grandson of a Hokage. Like I give a fuck." Naruto yelled and beat him over the head, sending him to the floor. Herself being the daughter of the Yondaime, she hated when someone thought they were untouchable because of their heritage. Ebisu looked dumbstruck while the Sandaime just sighed. "See ya, Hokage Gigi." Naruto called back over her shoulder as she left. Naruto sighed as she walked past a section of horizontal planks that stood out horribly from the rest of the vertical fence. Konohamaru had been following her ever since she beat him over the head, and he was doing a bad job of it too. "Gaki, if you're gonna hide using that, make sure you hold it correctly." The kid just laughed as he revealed himself. "Nice job detecting me. I should have expected it from the girl I've heard rumors about," he said and walked up to her. "I don't mind being your follower." "What? But in return, you have to teach me." "Yeah right, as if I teach a brat like you. Besides, if you've heard rumors about me, I doubt you'd want to be associated with me," Naruto told him before turning to walk away. "Don't say that, please." "Oyabun." Naruto paused, pretending to think. "Nah, get lost." This continued for a few hours, Konohamaru continuing to follow her while she did her errands before she finally led him to a small clearing in a forest. Spinning around, she extended her leg, kicking him into a tree. "Hey, what was that about?" Konohamaru yelled at her as he got up. Naruto simply set herself in a ready stance. "You wanted me to train you, right? Then defend yourself." With that, she rushed at him, sending punches and kicks at him while he tried to defend himself. However, he proved no match to Naruto and was soon lying on the ground, beat up and exhausted with Naruto standing above him. "You expect to beat Hokage Gigi with those skills? You're years away from even being close to match him," she told him as she helped him up. She led him to knocked over log where she sat him down while she got some refreshments from the nearby vending machines. "Why are you so obsessed with Hokage Gigi anyway?" "Ji-chan gave me the name Konohamaru. He took it off the name of this village. But even though it's a name that everyone should have heard many times, no one calls me by that name. Whenever anyone sees me or calls me, they only see the grandson of a Hokage," Konohamaru explained. "No one recognizes me as an individual. I hate that, so I want the title of Hokage right now." "Baka. You don't become Hokage to be recognized, you become recognized to be Hokage," Naruto told him. "It's not a title that a kid can carry so easily. You keep saying, Hokage, Hokage. If you want the title so badly," she said and grinned, "you'll have to work for it. I found you," a voice proclaimed. Turning, they both saw Ebisu, standing on a branch looking at Naruto with hateful eyes. "Now, young master, let us go home." "No, I'm going to defeat Gigi right now, and get the title of Hokage right now. Don't bother me," Konohamaru yelled at him. Naruto hearing this sighed. Was this kid deaf to anything she told him? Hokage is a title you receive when you understand the principles of morality, knowledge, loyalty, getting along with family, and can use more than 1,000 techniques. Ebisu lectured before being interrupted by Naruto. "The Hokage are the leaders of our village, Konohagakure. They are generally acknowledged as the strongest in the village, but ideology and renown plays a large part in being chosen for the position. They are usually chosen by the current Hokage," she said. "Yes, that is all correct," Ebisu admitted before grabbing Konohamaru and tried to drag him away. "Come now, young master. The quickest path to becoming Hokage is to listen to me." "The quickest path? There is no quick path to become Hokage, you idiot. It takes dedication, hard training, and above all, the right belief. There's no shortcut. I'm gonna make you pay for insulting it," Naruto told him angrily, getting him to focus on her instead of Konohamaru. "This is silly. I am an elite teacher even if I do not look like one. You can't beat me," he said arrogantly. Naruto glared at him before smirking, as silver sand rose behind him. She had sent some into the ground while he was distracted with Konohamaru. The sand formed into a big rectangular block that slammed Ebisu into the ground, knocking him out. Naruto sighed before muttering, "Don't underestimate your opponents, Bakayaro." Turning, she walked away but called back to Konohamaru before she was out of sight. "You can't be the next Hokage, Konohamaru. 'Cause that'll be me. But grow strong, and I'll be happy to give the title to you when my time is up." Naruko sighed as she sat in her now former classroom. Listened to Sakura complaining about their sensei being late. Currently only she, Haruno Sakura and Uchiha Sasuke were the only occupants, everybody else already having left with their sensei. Even their former sensei, Amino Iruka, had left, having other duties to attend to. Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke had been put on a team together with Hitaki Kakashi as their sensei. Naruto already knew him, he had been part of her Anbu guard when she was young, and he had helped her out when he could. He had explained to her that he felt it was his duty, as her father's student. Naruto had even started seeing him as an older brother of sorts, affectionately calling him Kaka-ni. "Sakura, give it a break already, Kaka-ni always arrives 3 hours late." Naruto told her before looking at the clock. So he should arrive any minute now. Right as she stopped speaking, the door to the classroom opened, and a ninja with white hair stepped inside. Naruto grinned and threw an oval-shaped object at him. "Think fast, Kaka-ni." Kakashi didn't even glance at her as he leaned back, letting the object fly past him before leaning forward as the object swung around and came back at him, before landing in Naruto's hand again. "I see you're as insufferable as always, Naruto-chan," Kakashi commented before turning to the two others in the room. Sakura looked dumbfounded that Naruto would seemingly attack their superior. Sasuke simply looked impassive like usual. "My first impression of you two is, you're boring. Let's see, why don't you introduce yourselves?" Kakashi said after they all had moved to the rooftop. "Introduce ourselves? What should we say?" Sakura asked. Kakashi shrugged and said, "What you like, hate, your dreams, and hobbies. Something like that. I can go first. I'm Hitaki Kakashi. I have no intention of telling you my likes and dislikes. As for my dream, I have few hobbies," he told them. Sakura's eye twitched as she muttered, "All we learned was his name." Naruto grinned before speaking up. "He's Hitaki Kakashi. His likes are to make up dumb excuses to why he's late, salt-broiled celery and miso soup with eggplant. He greatly dislikes being photographed without his mask and any food that's fried or sweet. He also hates those who would abandon their comrades. His hobby is to read the Icha Icha series." Kakashi gave her a lazy glare. "Thank you for that, Naruto-chan." Naruto smirked at him, even though she knew she'd pay for that. "Now it's your turn," he continued. "You first," he said, pointing to Naruto. "My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like ramen, red bean soup and silver. I dislike the 3 minutes that ramen takes to cook and people who can't tell the kanai from the scroll. My hobbies are training, pulling pranks and taking care of my plants. My dream is to become the first female Hokage," she told them. Kakashi hummed before turning to Sakura. "Okay, next. I'm Haruno Sakura. I like, well, the person I like is, and my hobby is, well, my dream is too," Sakura said, glancing several times at Sasuke before giving a high-pitched squeal. "And, what do you hate?" Kakashi asked her. "Ino pig," she exclaimed fiercely. Okay then, last one, go." "My name is Uchiha Sasuke. There are many things that I hate, and there aren't a lot of things that I like. Also, I have an ambition that I have no intention to leave as just a dream. The revival of my clan, and to kill a certain man," Sasuke stated ominously. The others stared at him for a bit before Naruto spoke up. "Sue, in what order is that?" she asked, bringing the attention to her. "Like, are you going to revive your clan first, or kill this man first? Because what if you try to kill the man and fail and get killed, then you can't revive your clan." Once she finished, she noticed the others staring at her. "What? Alright, you three all have unique personalities. I like that. We're going to begin a mission starting tomorrow," Kakashi said, getting them back on track. "First, we're going to do something that we four can do. Survival training." "Survival training? Why are we going to train when it's a mission? We had plenty of training at the academy," Sakura asked. Naruto had to repress a laugh. Sakura wasn't exactly well trained. Naruto was unsure if she'd even be able to beat a normal bandit. "This is no ordinary training," Kakashi told them and started chuckling to himself. Naruto scowled. "Oi Kaka-ni, just tell us already." "Well, if I say this, I'm sure you three are going to be surprised. Out of the 27 graduates, only 9 are going to become genin." The other 18 will be sent back to the academy. In other words, this training is going to be a very hard test with a dropout rate of 66%. He said, shocking the 3 genin aspirants. See? You 3 are surprised. Kakashi laughed at their shock. Wait, then what was the final exam for? Sakura asked. That? It just picks out those who are qualified to become a genin. Kakashi explained before continuing. Anyway, I'm going to determine whether or not you pass or fail tomorrow at the training grounds. Bring your shinobi equipment and meet at 5 a.m. Now then, meeting over. Oh yeah, don't eat breakfast. You're going to throw up if you do. He told them before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Naruto sighed as she stood up and addressed the others. Don't listen to Kakani, he's just trying to play with your heads. There is no way only 9 out of 27 graduates become genin. If that was the case we'd have a very small force of shinobi. And it's better to eat and puke than not eat and not have the energy to fight. She advised them before using her own Jinsa Shunshin to leave. Naruto entered the training grounds at exactly 5 a.m. the next morning, seeing Sasuke and Sakura entering at the same time. After greeting each other, Naruto lay down on the ground, preparing to get some more rest. When Sakura asked why, she informed them that Kakashi most likely wouldn't arrive until much later before entering a meditative state, staying awake just enough to be aware of her surroundings. About 3 hours later, Kakashi finally arrived. Hi fellows, good morning. He greeted them. Naruto simply stood up and gave a wave while Sakura yelled at him for being late. A black cat crossed my path, so, he said, but seeing their unconvinced faces coughed before walking over to a tree stump, where he put down an alarm clock. Alarm set at 12 p.m. Today's topic is to get one of these bells from me, Kakashi said while holding up 2 bells tied on a red string. Whoever can't will have no lunch. I'm going to tie you there, and eat lunch in front of you. As if on cue, Sasuke's and Sakura's stomachs groaned, causing Naruto to look at them. So you two didn't listen to me when I said it's better to eat and puke than not eat and have no energy to fight? She asked rhetorically. But wait, why are there only 2 bells? Sakura asked Kakashi, getting an eye smile. Since there's only 2, at least one will have to be tied to the log. That person will fail since he failed to complete the mission. The person will go back to the academy. It might be just one, or all 3 of you. He told them, you can use your shuriken. You won't be able to get this unless you have the will to kill me. But that's too dangerous, sensei. Sakura immediately protested. In society, those who don't have many abilities tend to complain more. Kakashi simply said to her, we're going to start after I say, ready, start. As soon as she heard that, Naruto flung her arm out, sending a silver kunai at Kakashi from her sleeve. Kakashi merely tilted his head of the way before Naruto flew at him with a kick which he blocked before grabbing the offending appendage and using it to throw Naruto into the ground. Seeing Naruto grin, his eye narrowed before the kunai Naruto had thrown in the beginning pierced his skull, only for him to disappear in a puff of smoke and the real Kakashi walked out from behind a tree. Don't get so hasty, Naruto-chan. I didn't say, start, yet. He reprimanded her, only for her to smirk at him. You said we're going to start after I say, ready, start. And since you said start, I assumed I was free to attack. She explained herself, getting a sigh from Kakashi. Don't twist my words, Naruto-chan. You know that's not what I meant when I said that. But, at least one of you has the will to kill me. He said, we're going to start. Ready, start. Kakashi exclaimed, watching as the 3 genin disappeared in the foliage. A basic for shinobi is to conceal his presence and hide. He thought to himself as he looked around for the would-be genin. Good, everyone is hidden nicely. He trailed off as he noticed Naruto standing in front of him confidently. I see you're as weird as always, Naruto-chan. He addressed her. She simply grinned before sending several kunai and shuriken towards him and jumping in the air. What's weird is your hairstyle. She yelled at him as he grabbed the first kunai coming at him and deflecting the rest of the projectiles. Blocking her kick from above, Kakashi said, Shinobi tactic know-how number 1, taijutsu. I'll teach you that first. Seeing Kakashi reach into his shuriken pouch, Naruto pushed off, getting some distance between them. Only for her jaw to drop when he pulled out his Icha book. What's the matter? Come and get me, Kakashi said. The hell, Kakani? You bring out your smut now? Well, I got curious as to how the story is going to develop. Don't worry about it. It's the same whether I read this or not. Naruko growled. She'd show him for underestimating her. The projectiles she'd thrown earlier rose from the ground and pointed towards Kakashi. You made me angry, Kakani. You won't like me when I'm angry. She told him, and with that the silver weapons flew at Kakashi with speed not achievable by throwing. While this was happening, Naruko was closing in on Sakura's hiding place, having left a clone to fight Kakashi. Of course he didn't know that. Sakura, Naruko whispered once she reached her. The pink-haired girl spun around with a yelp, only for Naruko to slap a hand over her mouth and tell her to be quiet. Naruko? How are you here? You're fighting Kakashi-sensei. Sakura asked once Naruko retracted her hand. It's a clone, now listen. The purpose of this test isn't to get those bells. They're only a bonus, besides there is no way a genin could get a bell from a jonin by themselves. Naruko told her. Sakura furrowed her brow in thought, thinking it over. Then what's the true purpose? She asked. Teamwork. Kakani always stressed to me when I was younger how teamwork was the most important thing in a team. I think what Kakashi wants is for all of us to join and attack him together. Naruko revealed. After thinking over for a bit more, Sakura agreed to join her if Sasuke did. With that they moved towards Sasuke. Back with the clone and Kakashi, they were currently in a taijutsu fight. Kakashi was impressed with his pseudo-sibling's performance. She had managed to force him to put away his book. Deciding to put an end to it, he disappeared, causing one of Naruko's punches to hit nothing but air. A shinobi should not let the enemy get behind her, Naruko-chan. Kakashi said from behind her, crouched with his hands in a tiger sign. Konohagakure Hiden Taijutsu Ogi, Senin Garashi. He yelled, thrusting his hands forward, aiming at Naruko's ass. He didn't, however, expect a shield of silver sand to appear between him and Naruko. You tried to use that jutsu on me? Naruko's growled as spikes extended from the shield, piercing Kakashi, who puffed into a log. Naruko turned with her head down towards the ground, bangs shadowing her eyes. You fucking dare! She roared before dissolving into silver sand and flying towards the woods, where the real Naruko was walking out and swirled around her. You have infuriated me, Kakani. She raised her arms and twisted her hands towards the sky, and a rumbling was heard across the training ground. Kakashi was thinking he shouldn't have used that technique when several pillars of silver sand shot out from the ground around them. He was definitely regretting it when the silver sand changed direction towards him, converging into a massive wave of silver sand. Jinsa Bakuryu, Naruko yelled as the wave converged on Kakashi. The silver sand crashed down, covering a big part of the clearing in the training field in a sea of silver sand. Off to the side in a tree, Kakashi sighed in relief. He had barely gotten out of the way of that attack. Sensing something coming towards him, he jumped out of the tree as a big fireball crashed into the tree. As he landed in another tree, he was forced to immediately jump away again as several hissing kunai impacted the tree before exploding. Landing back in the clearing on the silver sand, he was forced to dodge as the sand started attacking him from below randomly. Then Sasuke charged at him from the tree line, engaging him in a taijutsu fight. This, along with the occasional shuriken and kunai from the trees where Sakura was hiding, managed to reveal his Sharingan. Then the attacks stopped, Sasuke backing off and landing next to Naruko, allowing him to take a breath. As he did so, he saw Naruko, panting slightly from controlling so much silver. Then she crouched down, placing her hand on the silver sand. Raiden! Kanden no Nohara! She yelled and lightning streamed from her hand, the sand lighting up with a blinding white glow as it acted as a conduit for the lightning. Shit! Kakashi exclaimed before running through several hand seals. Doden! Taju Doryuheki! Multiple walls of earth rose around him, boxing him in and cutting him off from the lightning. Then a loud ringing was heard through the training field, earning a relieved sigh from Kakashi. After the bell had rang and Naruko retracted her silver sand, they assembled by the 3 training poles. None of the 3 genin were bound, to their surprise. Well, none of you managed to get a bell. However, that was never the true purpose of this test, which it seems you 3 figured out. The purpose was to see how well you could work together, which you did splendidly. So, congratulations you 3, you pass. Kakashi told them with an eye smile. Naruko gave a whoop of joy while Sakura cheered and Sasuke settled for a smirk. Before I let you go for today, however, there is one more thing I have to say. Kakashi said, getting their attention. In the ninja world, Those who break the rules are trash, that's true. But those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. Oh, my cute Tora-chan. Team 7 watched as the cat known as Tora was squeezed to death by the wife of Hai no Kuni's daimyo, Madame Shinjimi, after having captured it, as was their mission. No wonder that cat runs away so much. Naruto muttered, getting nods from the other two. It had been a month since they had passed Kakashi's test and their days had been spent either training or doing boring D-rank missions. When it came to training, Kakashi had proved to know what he was doing, training them harshly. He had trained them all in teamwork exercises first, so that they could fight together properly, and the tree climbing technique by having them climb trees without their hands, before moving on to training them in separate things. For Naruto, he had mainly trained her in ninjutsu, giving her several more Doden and Raiden jutsu, but had also trained her taijutsu, so that she wouldn't be defenseless in close quarter or when she didn't have the time to use her jutsu or silver sand. Overall, she would act as their ninjutsu expert. Sasuke would act as a jack of all trades, being proficient in all types of combat. Therefore, Kakashi had given him a few more Kaiden jutsu and trained him in his own style of taijutsu. They had also worked on unlocking Sasuke's Sharingan, but had made little progress. Kakashi had also said he'd teach Sasuke some genjutsu once he did unlock his Sharingan. With Sakura, he had first made her do physical exercises and chakra exercises for long periods of time to increase her dreadfully small amount of chakra. Then he started teaching her genjutsu and the limited medical jutsu he knew, which she had taken to immediately with her excellent chakra control. He also worked on her speed and dodge skill so she could avoid getting hit. She would act as their support. Now then, Kakashi's 7th unit's next mission is Yoju-sama's boy. Grocery shopping at the neighboring town. Helping dig up potatoes at. The Sandame's voice broke her from her reminiscing. Hokage Gigi, she said, getting everyone's attention. Yes, Naruto-chan? How many missions have we completed this last month since we graduated? She asked him. Looking at Iruka, who was sitting next to him, the Sandame requested their mission stats and after receiving the scroll, told them. You have completed 30 D-rank missions. Then give us a C-rank mission. Naruto told him. Seeing Iruka gearing up for a lecture, she quickly continued. If a new genin team have been active for a month and has completed at least 30 D-rank missions, they are allowed to take a C rank. Isn't that so, Gigi? Chuckling, the Hokage nodded. Seems you have been reading up, Naruto-chan. What you say is very true. I will allow you to take on a C rank mission. If your sensei believes you to be ready. Seeing his team looking at him hopefully, Kakashi sighed and nodded his head. I believe they could handle a simple C rank, he said, getting a smirk from Sasuke, a smile from Sakura and a grin from Naruto. Very well. Your mission will be to escort a certain person, the Hokage said before raising his voice and calling for someone to enter. Turning to the door, as it opened, they saw a gray-haired, bespectacled man with a large beard and dark eyes. He wore a sleeveless V-neck shirt with an obi, pants and a pair of sandals. He also carried a towel around his neck and wore a pointed hat on his head. In his hand was a bottle of sake. What? They're all kids, the man said before taking several gulps of sake. Hey, is the smallest one there with the idiotic face really a shinobi? The next thing he knew was a silver kunai almost piercing his eye. Care to repeat that? Naruto growled with an angry snarl. Don't kill our client, Naruto-chan. Kakashi told her. I can't kill him. What about dismemberment? She asked with a grin, scaring the shit out of Tazuna. No dismemberment. Kakashi deadpanned, getting a pout from Naruto as she retracted the kunai. After calming down and taking another swig of his sake, the man introduced himself. I am the bridge building expert Tazuna. Once I have returned to my country, I will have all of you protect my life with yours while I complete the bridge. Naruto had a big grin on her face as Team 7 and Tazuna walked through the village gates. She was finally going to get see what the world outside of Konoha looked like. Come on, let's go, she exclaimed. What are you all excited for? Sakura asked her. Because I've never gone outside the village before. Okay team, let's get going. Kakashi told them. Diamond formation. Doing as told, they went to their positions. Naruto in front of Tazuna, Sakura to the left of Tazuna, Sasuke on his right side, and Kakashi at the back. After walking for a while, Sakura decided to break the silence. Nay, Tazuna-san, what is it? You're from Nami no Kuni, right? She asked him. Tazuna nodded. What about it? Sakura instead of answering turned to Kakashi. Nay, Kakashi-sensei, are there also ninja in that country? No, there are no ninja in Nami no Kuni. But while the culture and customs of other countries may be different, hidden villages and ninja do exist. To the many countries that exist on this land, the existence of ninja villages is the equivalent of the country's military powers. In other words, that is how they are able to maintain the relationship with neighboring countries. Kakashi explained to her, but the villages aren't under control of that country. They are supposedly equal in position. On a small island like Nami no Kuni, where it is difficult to be influenced by other countries, there is no need for ninja villages. Among the countries that have a ninja village, since the 5 countries of Hai, Mizu, Kaminari, Kase, and Tsuchi, occupy a large mass of land and their powers are immense, they are known as the Shinobi Godekoku. He continued, Hai no Kuni's Konohagakure no Sato, Mizu no Kuni's Kirigakure no Sato, Kaminari no Kuni's Kumogakure no Sato, Kase no Kuni's Sanagakure no Sato, and Tsuchi no Kuni's Iwagakure no Sato, right Kakani? Naruko interjected. Correct Naruko-chan. Only the leader of each hidden village is allowed to carry the name of Kage. The Hokage, Mizukage, Reikage, Kasekage and Tsuchikage, otherwise known as the Gokage, are the ninjas that reign over the tens of thousands of ninjas that exist in the countries throughout the world. Kakashi said. There's also the Hoshikage, which Hoshigakure no Sato have taken to calling their leader, though they aren't recognized as a real Kage, since they aren't one of the Godekoku. Naruko added. Kakashi gave her an eye smile. Well, Naruko, seems you're keeping yourself up to date, he said, getting a shrug from Naruko before she turned to Sakura. By the way, Sakura, how do you not know this? You had the highest scores in all the theoretical stuff in the academy. Sakura froze as she tried to think of a good answer but was saved from answering when Kakashi continued. Don't worry, we won't have any ninja battles in a C-ranked mission, he said, getting a relieved sigh from Sakura. While she had gotten better, she still wasn't confident in fighting any enemy ninja. Only Naruko seemed to catch the flicker of nervousness that passed over Tazuna's face. After that they continued their journey for a couple of hours. However, after crossing a bride, Naruko noticed a puddle on the ground. That's odd, it hasn't rained in a couple of days and it can't be from the river we passed. It's too far away, it must have genjutsu. She thought to herself and checked if the others had noticed. She saw Kakashi looking at it as he passed it, but the others seemed oblivious. Soon after they passed it, 2 ninjas rose from the puddle and jumped towards them, intent on taking out Kakashi, the biggest threat, first with their shuriken chain. Unfortunately for them, Naruko was ready for them, spinning around and throwing 2 of her kunai at them, forcing them to dodge. However, the kunai changed course mid-flight, catching the chain that connected them and then hitting a tree, halting their advance. Then Sasuke appeared standing on their gauntlets before he grabbed onto them and kicked the ninjas in the face. The 2 ninjas quickly recovered, splitting off and rushing towards Sakura, Tazuna and Naruko. One of the ninjas went for Naruko, swiping at her from below with his clawed gauntlet. Naruko jumped and flipped in midair, using the offending appendage as a balance beam and kicking the ninja back before landing in a handstand. The ninja recovered and flipped himself, landing on his feet. But as he was about to launch another attack, the ground beneath him burst open and a spear of silver sand pierced him through the heart. The other ninja went for Sakura and Tazuna, only to halt his progress when Sakura seemingly dissolved into cherry blossom petals that circled around him. Then he felt the sharp pain of something slicing his back and spun around, slashing with his gauntlet, but neither hit nor saw anything. Then he was slashed several times on his chest, arms, back and finally legs, causing him to fall over, his legs no longer able to carry him. Then Kakashi appeared over him, knocking him out. Good work, you 3, he told his genin, who smiled at him before focusing on Naruko. Though I didn't think you would kill him, Naruko-chan. Naruko merely shrugged as she looked at the man she killed. It wasn't the first time, she said emotionlessly, shocking her teammates and their client while Kakashi's gaze saddened a bit before he covered it up. I want to talk to you once we get a chance, Naruko-chan, he told her, getting a nod. Then he turned to Tazuna. By the way, Tazuna-san. What is it? Tazuna asked nervously. I need to talk to you, Kakashi said seriously. The mist was thick as they all sat on a boat to cross over to Nami no Kuni. After Team 7 had dealt with the two ambushing ninja, who Kakashi had confirmed as the Oni Kyodai, two Chunin-level ninja from Kirigakure, they had questioned Tazuna, who had then told them about his country's miserable state thanks to a man named Gato. He admitted that he had lied about the danger of the mission because his country was very poor and therefore couldn't afford a high-ranked mission and had begged them to not abandon him. After a discussion, where Kakashi almost had decided to go back to the village if it wasn't for Naruto proclaiming that even if the rest of the team went back she would continue, saying she couldn't just walk away if she knew she could help, which inspired the rest of them, they decided to continue the mission. Kakashi had written a short message to the Hokage and sent one of his Ninken summons back to the village before they continued. If we move along the side of the bridge, we'll be at Nami no Kuni. The man controlling the boat said. Naruto narrowed her eyes, trying to see through the mist for the bridge. Then they saw it, the colossal unfinished bridge. Wow, it's huge, Naruto said awed, getting silent agreements from the rest of her team. They went under the bridge, and came out of the fog, which revealed a village which went alongside the water. The boat driver pulled up to one of the houses telling them this was as far as he went. They stepped off and Tazuna bid the man farewell. All right, take me home safely. Tazuna told them and they started walking. After walking for some time and now on a road in the middle of a forest, Naruto paused when she sensed something. She threw her arm out to her left, sending a kunai from her sleeve into the bushes, surprising Sakura and Sasuke. I sensed someone, she said. Kakashi nodded, confirming she wasn't the only one as he went to check. Parting the bushes it revealed a scared-to-death white rabbit with Naruto's kunai embedded in the tree right above its head. Naruto, look what you did. You scared the little bunny half to death. Sakura reprimanded her, however Naruto wasn't listening. She walked up to the rabbit, pulling her kunai out and putting it back in her sleeve where it dissolved and returned to the seal. This is a snow rabbit, she said as she inspected it closer. Why is its fur white? They only have white fur during winter, when the days are short. The rest of them pondered the question before Kakashi spoke up. That means that it is a rabbit that was raised inside a place where the sun isn't a factor, for the Kawarimi. He told them. Sasuke narrowed his eyes in thought. That means there really was someone there. Naruto's nose and ears twitched and she was already dragging Tazuna to the ground when Kakashi yelled at them to duck as a huge cleaver-like sword flew through the air above them. The sword impacted a tree, and a man appeared standing on the handle. He was a tall and noticeably muscular man with pale skin, short spiky black hair, brown eyes, and small eyebrows. Over the bottom half of his face he wore bandages like a mask and wore a Hite-8 with a Kirigakure sign on it sideways on his head. His upper body was bare except for the belt which Naruto assumed was for carrying that huge sword with. He wore baggy pants with a striped pattern and mimetic wrist warmers extending up to his elbows, with matching leg warmers. This guy, he's dangerous. I couldn't smell or hear him until he moved. Naruto thought as they all stood up and faced towards their assailant. Kakashi stepped forward and addressed the man. Oh, my, you are Momochi Zabuza, Nukanen of Kirigakure no Sato. Then he signaled his team. Stay back, everyone. He's way different from the guys we met before. He told them before reaching for his Hite-8. I'm guessing you are Sharingan no Kakashi. Zabuza said before getting to the matter at hand. I'm sorry, but I'll need you to hand over the geezer. Kakashi, still with his hand on his Hite-8, addressed his team again. Everyone, form the Manji formation. Protect Tazuna-san. Don't join the battle. To not interfere with the battle is teamwork. He said and pulled up his Hite-8, revealing his Sharingan. Don't worry about his Kakani, he won't get through my defense. Naruto muttered as silver sand started to discreetly fall from her sleeves, some of it staying close to her, while the rest slowly spread around the area. Oh, I'm honored that I can see the Sharingan that I've heard about. Zabuza said, looking at Kakashi, and a mist started to creep in. When I was in Kirigakure's assassination squad, your information was listed in the bingo book I carried asking for your capture. It also noted this, the man who copied more than 1,000 techniques, Copy Ninja no Kakashi. Zabuza crouched, gripping his sword with one of his hands. Let's cut the chit-chat here. I have to kill that geezer right away. In response the genin of Team 7 got in formation, the three of them standing close to Tazuna, facing outwards at all. the three ninjas' backs facing each other. Naruto, knowing the weakness of the formation, readied her silver sand, sending some of it into the ground, as Zabuza was sure to capitalize on the weakness and underestimate them. But, Kakashi, it seems I had to defeat you first. Zabuza said before pushing off from the tree with a foot, yanking his blade free and disappearing before reappearing on the water, holding both hands in a half-ram, tiger seal, one in front of his face and the other raised above it as mist and water started circling him. Ninpo. Kirigakure no Jutsu. He stated as the mist got extremely thick, concealing him. He disappeared. I can't even smell him. Naruto said as Kakashi took a few steps in front of them. He'll try to eliminate me first, but... He trailed off. What is he? Sakura questioned. Momochi Zabuza. He was in Kirigakure's Anbu, and known for his silent killing techniques. Kakashi told them. Silent? Sasuke asked. Just as the name implies, it's a killing technique that's executed in a flash and carried out in absolute silence. It's possible that you'll be dead before you realize it, and I cannot use my Sharingan to its fullest potential. So don't let your guard down. Kakashi explained, getting the genin to grow more unsettled. But if you fail, you're only going to die. He then said calmly, "You're so carefree." Sakura exclaimed in anger. Then they stopped talking as the mist got even thicker, getting so thick they could barely even see Kakashi. Then Zabuza's voice rang out. 8 points. The larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular vein, collarbone, kidney, and heart. Now, which vital organ do you want to get struck at? He asked as killer intent bombarded them. Sakura was shaking from fear, with Sasuke not doing much better, and Kakashi released a burst of chakra that cleared the mist somewhat. Naruto, however, heart please, or wait, no, kidney. Or wait, the larynx sounds cool, or maybe the spine. Gah, I can't decide. You do it for me, she said with a grin, not nearly as affected by the ki as her teammates, breaking the tense atmosphere completely while her team and clients stared at her incredulously. Even Zabuza was staring at her disbelievingly from his hiding place. What? He asked. She defended herself. Grasp the atmosphere, Naruto, Sakura exclaimed. This time Naruto stared at Sakura disbelievingly. Now why would I ever do that? She asked, only to be ignored as the atmosphere turned tense again when Zabuza sent out even more ki, which was matched by Kakashi. Sasuke trembled and brought his kunai up, holding it with both hands. Sasuke, Kakashi said, feeling Sasuke's fears. Don't worry, I'll protect the three of you with my life. I won't let anyone on my team die. He told them with an eye smile, effectively calming Sakura and Sasuke. Yeah, Kakani will beat Zabuza real quick. Plus you've got me here too. I won't let anything past my defense. Naruto added with a smirk. I don't know about that, Zabuza said as he appeared in between them crouched. However, before he could do anything, several tendrils of silver sand exploded from beneath the ground, stabbing him in the 8 places he had listed earlier. Time seemed to stand still as everyone except Naruto stood in shock before water leaked from Zabuza's wounds and he dissolved into a puddle. I told you nothing will get past my defense, Naruto said, looking completely serious for a change. Then Zabuza appeared behind Kakashi, yelling at him to die as he swung his sword through Kakashi's body, only for him to turn into water as well. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu? Did he copy it in this mist? Zabuza yelled inwardly. Don't move, Kakashi said as he put a kunai to Zabuza's throat from behind. This is the end. I must say, Kakashi, your little brat surprised me. To be able to notice my clone and kill it that fast is more than I expected. Zabuza chuckled. But this isn't the end. You don't understand. You can't defeat me with just your indiscriminate imitations. I can assure you that. He chuckled again. But you're pretty good. I see that you've copied my Mizu Bunshin when you said, I won't let anyone on my team die. However, I'm not that easy to defeat. Another Zabuza appeared behind Kakashi as the one in front of him splashed into water. He swung his sword, which Kakashi ducked under, causing Zabuza to swing the sword completely until it struck the ground at the starting point of his swing. Then he used it to boost himself as he kicked Kakashi away from him, much to the genin's shock. Kakashi landed in the water and quickly surfaced. What's with this water? It's heavy for some reason, he thought. Then Zabuza appeared standing behind him, calling him an idiot while running through hand seals. Suiro no Jutsu. He intoned, and the water of the lake rose around Kakashi, trapping him in a sphere of water. You fell for it. This is a special prison that you can't escape from. You give me a hard time when you're moving. Now then, Kakashi, I'm going to finish you off later. First, I'm going to get rid of them. Zabuza said and made a half-ramp, tiger sign with his hand that wasn't keeping Kakashi in the water prison. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu. Another Zabuza formed out of the lake and stood on the beach, facing the genin. The three of you have Hite on as if you think you're ninja. But ninja refers to someone who has gone through numerous life and death situations. In other words, you can call yourself a ninja when you appear in my bingo book. The clone said before causing the mist to thicken again as he disappeared inside it. You three aren't ninja. It got quiet before Naruto broke it. A ninja is someone who has gone through numerous life and death situations, huh? Well, no brow, I may not be in your bingo book, but I've fought for my life since I was born. I won't die to someone like you, she proclaimed as her eyes darted to the right, where the clone appeared to attack her with a kick, only for her silver sand to form a shield and block it. Then spiked chains shot out from the shield, intent on piercing the clone, which swiftly dodged and disappeared into the mist again. Naruto sniffed once before turning to Sasuke and pointing to a tree on their left. Sasuke, use a fireball over there. Sasuke nodded, speeding through hand seals before exclaiming, Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu. And blew a large ball of fire from his mouth, evaporating the mist in its path and forcing the clone to jump away from the tree or suffer the same fate. Kunai from Sakura met its path as it landed, but it raised its sword and used it as a shield, causing the throwing knives to bounce harmlessly off it. However, a tendril of silver sand snuck around the sword, grabbing the clone's leg. In retaliation, the clone swung its sword and cut off the tendril, but the sand simply changed into several senbon, which pierced the clone and causing it to splash into water. Oh, I'm surprised. You managed to beat my clone. How about this then? Zabuza questioned and formed a half-seal again. 3 more clones emerged from the water, rushing at the team. Naruto growled, getting annoyed. Enough of this. I'm freeing Kakani now. More silver sand emerged from her sleeves, forming a large platform under the genin and their client, lifting them into the air and getting exclamations of surprise from them. Naruto then raised her hands before forcefully crossing them. Silver sand emerged from the woods, forming into waves of sand that swept up the clones and encased them before crushing them. Then silver sand formed into a large shuriken above Naruto, who raised her arm. Jinsa no Doka. Fuma shuriken. She called out, swinging her arm forward, causing the giant shuriken to fly forward at blinding speeds towards Zabuza. A shuriken won't work on me, Zabuza said. The shuriken flew at him, however he simply caught it once it got close enough. He wasn't expecting the shuriken to change form, the blades extending into sharp tendrils that aimed to impale him. He was forced to jump back to avoid them. This disconnected his arm from his technique, freeing Kakashi. After that it went fast, Kakashi and Zabuza dueling on the water, battling with Suiden Jutsu, until Kakashi with his Sharingan outclassed Zabuza by mirroring Zabuza completely, even seemingly reading his mind, and finishing the Suiden Daibakufu no Jutsu faster than Zabuza. A huge wave barreled into Zabuza and took him with it as it carved through the ground and flooded the entire area underneath the platform Naruto had formed. Damn, I'm glad I took us up here. Naruto whistled. The center point of the wave hit a tree, pressing Zabuza up against it with tremendous force for several seconds before it let up, revealing him leaning on the tree. Several kunai struck his limbs, immobilizing him and causing him to cry out in pain. This is the end, Kakashi said from above him in the tree. The water continued for rage about for a few seconds before dispersing as Kakashi let go of the technique, causing Naruto to bring the platform down near Kakashi and Zabuza. Why? Can you see the future? Zabuza asked Kakashi. Yeah, you're going to die. Kakashi answered as he raised a kunai. However, before he could do anything, 2 senbon flew out from nowhere and struck Zabuza in the neck. Turning towards where they came from, Team 7 and their client spotted a masked figure standing in a tree, which Naruto confirmed after sniffing the air was a girl. However, she frowned as she smelt something else, Zabuza's scent. The unknown figure gave a short laugh. It was true. He did die. The figure wore the standard Kirigakure pinstriped outfit which stopped at her knees. Over this she wore a green haori with white trimmings, and a brown sash with a fringed trail wrapped around her waist twice. She also wore light brown platoon sandals with straps in the same color as her kimono and nail polish on her fingernails and toenails in matching blue-green color. Her long hair was gathered in a white bun holder, while 2 locks fell loose framing her face, bound with metal hair cuffs at the ends. She also wore a hunter nin mask, which was white with thin, curved eye holes and a red wavy design in place of the mouth, as well as the Kirigakure symbol etched in the top. Kakashi jumped down to Zabuza's body and inspected it. After feeling the pulse he said, "He really is dead," before backing off and turning to the stranger, who gave a bow. "Thank you very much. I was looking for a chance to kill Zabuza," she said. "That mask, if I remember correctly, you must be an Oinin from Kirigakure." Kakashi stated, "You are very well informed." "Yes, I'm a member of the Oinin Butai that hunt Nukanen." The Oinin confirmed. "An Oinin? She seems no older than me. Yet she's an Oinin? She's no ordinary kid." Naruto frowned and narrowed her eyes at the Oinin, who shunshined and appeared by Zabuza's corpse. She picked his limp body up before turning back to the team. "Your battle ends here for now. I must go dispose of this corpse. It's a body filled with secrets. If you'll excuse me," she said and made to leave, but Naruto stopped her. "Wait, if you're an Oinin then why aren't you destroying the body at the very spot it's laying? That's what you're supposed to do, right? To destroy the body where it died and only take the head as proof of his death," she said before continuing. "The fact that you're taking the body away is suspicious enough. But then there's the fact that you carry the scent of Zabuza on you. I could smell it as soon as you appeared." The girl stayed quiet, before disappearing in a shunshin, barely avoiding several kunai and tendrils of silver sand. "Damn it, she got away." Naruto cursed. "Well, this is upsetting. Well, for now our mission isn't over. We need to take Tazuna-san to his house. Even if that Oinin was with Zabuza, which means he's most likely still alive, it's going to take him a while to recover, but keep on alert just in case someone else comes along," Kakashi told them, before turning to lead them on. However, he froze in place when he felt a wave of exhaustion hit him, causing him to fall on his face. They rushed up to him, with Sakura kneeling next to him, checking for injuries before sighing. "He's suffering from chakra exhaustion. There's nothing I can do about that, we'll have to carry him," she told them after scanning him with a medical jutsu. Naruto nodded and made some of her silver sand pick Kakashi up and carry him before they continued on towards Tazuna's house. Kakashi groaned when he woke up. I used my Sharingan too much. Are you okay, sensei?" A woman with dark blue hair asked when she noticed he was awake. "No, I'll barely be able to move for a week," he replied and tried to sit up. "Then you shouldn't move around for a while, Kaka-ni," Naruto told him as she and her teammates entered with Tazuna. Kakashi reluctantly agreed as he laid back down. "The Sharingan is amazing, but it puts a lot of strain on the body. I'm not sure if it's good or bad," Sakura said as she sat down next to him, checking him over again. "I'm sorry," Kakashi murmured, "but you defeated such a strong ninja. We should be okay for a while," Tazuna said. "At least until Zabuza recovers. Then we'll have to deal with him and the one in the mask," Naruto added. "It will take him about a week to recover from those wounds, and then, we'll have our rematch," Kakashi stated. "Sensei, how are you going to prepare for this before it's too late? You can't move for a while?" Sakura asked. Kakashi looked thoughtful for a few moments. "I'll put you through some training. Even if you won't be able to increase your skills that much, I'll still give you all something to work on while I recuperate. I already have something to work on that'll be helpful against Zabuza's mist," Naruto told him, getting a nod and permission to work on it. This is getting interesting," Sasuke said. "No, it's not," a voice said from behind them. Turning, they saw a boy with spiky black hair and dark-colored eyes wearing a green jumpsuit with a yellow shirt and a simple pair of sandals, as well as a blue and white striped hat. "Inari, where were you?" Tazuna exclaimed. "I'm home, Ji-chan," Inari said as he rushed and hugged Tazuna. "Inari, say hello to them. These are the ninja that escorted Oji-chan," Tsunami told him. "It's okay, right, Inari?" Tazuna said. Inari just looked at the ninja from under his hat before turning to his mom. "Kachan, they're going to die. There's no way a person can win by going against Gato," he told her. "Thanks for the vote of confidence, brat," Naruto said sarcastically. Don't worry kid, we'll protect your old man until he finishes the bridge. If Gato appears I'll personally bring his head to you. How stupid, do you think you're a hero? There's no such thing. Inari scoffed. If you don't want to die, you should just go home. Naruto narrowed her eyes on him. You're starting to annoy me. We should just go home you say? She asked as she stood up and walked behind Tazuna. Fine, we'll just go home. But first why don't I do Gato a favor and kill your old man now? She asked as she put a kunai at Tazuna's throat. Everybody in the room froze. Naruto. Kakashi warned but Naruto interrupted him. Shut up, Kakashi. She told him, giving him a quick glance before turning back to glare at Inari. Sakura who was sitting next to Kakashi gasped when she caught a glimpse of Naruto's eyes. She saw something that made her question if the person in front of her really was her teammate. Naruto's eyes weren't the normal happy and cheerful red. They were a darker crimson red and there was a ruthlessness in them that said she'd kill anyone in her way. What are you? Inari stuttered. Right now Tazuna-san is the only hope this country has against Gato. This of course means Gato wants to get rid of him, by killing him. To prevent this Tazuna-san hired us to protect him. Now you're telling us to leave. You understand what I'm getting to don't you? By telling us to leave you're dooming Tazuna-san and this country to death. Naruto explained before pushing the kunai tighter against Tazuna's neck, causing it to bleed slightly. So why don't I do us all a favor and spare Gato the trouble? Inari fell to his hands and knees with tears in his eyes. And no please, don't. He pleaded. Naruto kept her glare on him for a few seconds before scoffing and letting go of Tazuna, who slumped down and took deep breaths. Walking to the door Naruto paused and looked over her shoulder at Inari. Grow up kid, and learn to think before you speak. She told him coldly before storming out. The rest was left in silence as Tazuna's family hugged each other. I'm sorry about that. Naruto-chan means well, but she had a hard childhood and because of that is somewhat eccentric and acts violently and rashly sometimes. Kakashi apologized. Naruto arrived back early the next morning, having spent the night outside cooling off. Kakashi had asked her if she could guard Tazuna while he watched over Sasuke and Sakura's training. That's why she was sitting by the railing of the bridge, seemingly meditating while watching over Tazuna. What she was doing wasn't meditation, though it was similar. She was concentrating on feeling all the metal around her and differentiating between them. She had always been able to feel the metal around her to a small extent, but now she was training to increase that ability. If she mastered it then it would be a big help against Zabuza and his Kabikirabocho. At the same time she was helping the bridge builders by using her silver sand to carry the materials where they needed to go. It took a lot of concentration, but it was worth the effort. This way she would get better at multitasking. May I have a word with you, Tazuna? She heard, drawing her attention to in front of her, where a man had approached Tazuna. What is it, Gichi? She heard Tazuna ask. Well, after thinking about it, can I quit this bridge building? Why all of a sudden? Not you, too, Tazuna exclaimed. Tazuna, I've known you for a long time. I want to help, but if I get too involved, Gato will come after me, too. Gichi told him. Everything will lose meaning if you die. Why don't we stop building this bridge? I can't do that, Tazuna said. This bridge is our bridge. This is the bridge that we've been building with the people of the town in the hopes that distribution and transportation will increase to this poor Nami no Kuni, which possesses few resources. But if we die, Gichi argued weakly. It's already lunchtime. Let's stop for now, Tazuna said and walked past him. Tazuna, Gichi yelled after him. Tazuna looked over his shoulder at him. Gichi, you don't have to come anymore. Gichi-san, you say that if you continue you might die, but have you not realized if you don't continue you will die? Naruto said as she opened her eyes and stood up to follow Tazuna. This bridge is the country's last hope. If it stops being built, then this country is finished and it will only be a matter of time until Gato finishes bleeding it dry. Think about that before you quit. So where are we going? Naruto asked as she followed Tazuna. I've been asked to buy the ingredients for tonight's dinner. Tazuna answered. As they walked Naruto got a closer look on the depravity of the country, orphans lining the streets, children having to steal to survive and beggars with signs saying they'll do anything for food. It made her sad, it made her angry, and it reminded her of her early childhood. Before her thoughts could go down that dark path Tazuna spoke up. This is it, he said and walked into a store that barely had anything. While she waited for Tazuna to buy what he needed, she noticed a man reaching for the pouch on her lower back, probably hoping it had money and steal it. Spinning around, she launched him out of the store with a kick to the face. "I don't care how poor you are. Trying to steal from a ninja is moronic." She glared at the man, who quickly scrambled away. Later, once Tazuna bought what he needed and they were walking back to his house, Naruto felt a hand grab the back of her shirt. Turning around expecting another man, she was surprised to see a young child. The child gave her an innocent look and put her hands up. "Give me," she asked with a smile. Naruto's eyes softened as she looked at child before reaching into one of her pockets, pulling out a sandwich and an apple that she hadn't eaten. "Here, take this," she said, crouching down to the child and giving her the food. The child gasped in happiness and thanked her before running off into the crowd. Ever since Gato came, it's been like this. The adults here have all become cowards. That's why we need that bridge right now. It will be a symbol of courage. We need it to get back the spirit in this country, for the people have decided to do nothing. If only that bridge is finished, this town will return to how it was before. Everyone will return to normal," Tazuna proclaimed. Naruto clenched her fists. "I promise you, I'll kill Gato. Even if it costs me my life, I'll destroy him," she declared with crimson rage in her eyes. Why are you hanging a torn picture?" Inari-kun was watching this during dinner the entire time. "This torn part looks like someone intentionally tore away the person who was there," Sakura asked after they had eaten that evening. "It's my husband," Tsunami said, washing the dishes. "He was a man known as the hero of this town," Tazuna told them. Inari stood up from the table and left, ignoring his mother asking where he was going. "Tosen, I told you not to talk about him in front of Inari." Tsunami reprimanded her father before running after Inari. "What's wrong with Inari-kun?" Sakura questioned. "It seems there's a reason behind this," Kakashi said before Tazuna started explaining. He told them of a man named Kaiza who saved Inari and became his role model and father figure and eventually his stepfather. He told them how Kaiza became a hero by saving a large part of the town by jumping into highly dangerous, rapid torrents and attaching a rope so the villagers could close the dam that had broken up because of the rain. And he told them how Gato arrived and captured Kaiza, beating him up before executing him publicly in front of the villagers. Inari changed ever since that time. Tsunami and the people of this town as well. Tazuna finished his story. While listening, Naruto had gotten more and more infuriated, and when Tazuna finished it was close to boiling point. Determination stronger than ever, she stood up, knocking the chair she had sat on over, and walked to the door, pausing only to tell the others to not wait up, before running off into the forest, where she spent the night training, destroying the clearing she had found. A girl with long black hair and brown eyes was picking herbs near the clearing Naruto had spent the night practicing. She wore a pink, sleeveless kimono, with pale red edges and decorated with small plum-colored swirls, that went to her ankles. Around her waist was a simple white obi tied in a bow. She also wore a pair of light brown sandals with dark straps, and a dark-colored choker around her neck. A bird landed on her shoulder and gazed inquisitively at her, causing her giggle slightly. Then the bird flew away abruptly, drawing her attention to a sleeping red-headed girl lying on the grass in a ruined clearing with burnt and broken trees and upturned ground, on top of which the bird landed to join its friends. The girl blinked in surprise before seeing the hite the girl was wearing and recognizing her as one of the ninja that had fought her master. Cautiously she walked up to the sleeping girl, looking at her peaceful, and admittedly beautiful, face. Kneeling down she shook her head. What was she thinking? This was an enemy she was thinking about. She reached for the girl's throat to snap her neck, but her hand stopped and she couldn't make herself do it. Then she switched target and instead shook the girl's shoulder. She's not an enemy right now. She rationalized it to herself. You're going to catch a cold if you sleep there, she said. Naruto groaned when she woke up by someone shaking her shoulder and talking to her. Huh? She murmured and opened her eyes to see a beautiful girl crouching over her. Sitting up as the girl leaned back, she asked her sleepily, "Who are you?" However, in her mind she was having a hard time not panicking. She recognized this girl's scent as soon as she woke up. Sitting next to her was the Oinin that was in league with Zabuza. She wanted to hit herself for being so careless. If she had wanted to, the girl could have killed her while she was sleeping. The girl smiled in response, becoming even prettier. "My name is Haku, what's your name?" For some reason she didn't understand. Naruko found herself blushing from Haku's smile. "I'm Naruko. What are you doing out here so early in the morning?" she asked. "Picking herbs," Haku answered. Naruko raised an eyebrow in fake confusion. "Herbs? That's right. It's to cure injuries and illness," Haku responded. Naruko nodded in understanding. "So someone you know is ill?" she asked. "Yes, my master. I'm picking these to help him get better quicker so he can get back to his job. He hates just lying in bed," Haku told her. Naruko nodded again and offered her help, even though she should have attacked while Haku's guard was down. "What are you doing here so early in the morning, in a destroyed clearing, Naruko-san?" Haku asked while they picked the herbs she needed. "I was training and must have passed out," Naruko said. "Are you a ninja or something? That Hite-8 is?" Haku asked. Naruko nodded. "Yeah, I'm a ninja from Konoha. My team were hired to protect the local bridge builder while he builds the bridge to save this country." "Wow, that's amazing," Haku said. "But why were you training? You seem like you were already strong," she asked. "To become stronger, and protect the ones precious to me. And to help save this country, there's a powerful man that's been hired by Gato to kill our client. That's why I'm training right now, so I can help my sensei defeat him and kill Gato. That man has destroyed this country, and I'll see him destroyed for it," Naruko exclaimed, her eyes darkening. Haku gave her a smile. "That's a good reason. A person is able to become truly strong when they wish to protect someone they cherish," she said. Naruko gave a small grin in return. "Yeah, I understand that. Yesterday, someone told me of a man who said, 'Protect whatever is important to you with these two arms, no matter how tough or sad it is, even if it costs you your life.' And that's exactly what I intend to do. I'll destroy anyone who endangers what's precious to me." They smiled at each other in understanding before Haku stood up and grabbed her basket. "I have all the herbs I need for now," she told Naruko. Turning to leave she paused. "I hope we can meet again, Naruko-san. I enjoy speaking with you." "Same here. I'll be here for a couple of days, if you want to find me," Naruko responded. For some reason, even though they both knew they were enemies, they couldn't help but like each other and feel comfortable in each other's presence, and they both left, hoping they would meet again as friends, and not as enemies. The next day Naruko returned to the clearing where she had met Haku, and not long after they met again. After that they decided they would meet there every day for a few hours, where they talked and connected, discovering that they had similar pasts and could relate to one another. This was the last time, the day before the week ended. "My master will be up to his normal strength tomorrow," Haku said as they were saying goodbye. This halted Naruko in her actions for a few seconds, having to come to terms with that they would fight as enemies the next day. "I see, that's good," Naruko said lamely. They stood in silence for a minute or so, before Naruko turned to leave. She was stopped by Haku grabbing her arm. Turning back to her, Naruko was caught by surprise by how close Haku was. Her body blushed without her consent when she was stricken once again by how pretty Haku was. She had noticed this several times during their meetings. Occasionally she would find herself staring at Haku while she was doing something that seemed to accent her beauty, and then she'd catch herself and blush while looking away, wondering what was happening to her. Her thoughts were swept away when Haku leaned forward, pressing their lips together in a sweet kiss. Naruko stood wide-eyed in shock before she relaxed, her eyes dropping as she kissed back. Once the need to breathe became overpowering, they broke away, looking at each other with glazed eyes. Then the sound of someone approaching them snapped them out of their clouded minds and Haku disappeared, leaving Naruko with confused mind and body as Sasuke entered the clearing. "What are you doing, Naruko?" he questioned when he saw Naruko just standing there looking off into the distance. Naruko shook her head, pushing her whirling thoughts to the back of her mind, and turned to Sasuke. "Nothing, what is it?" "Kakashi asked me to come and get you, it's dinner time. The bridge is almost complete. It's thanks to you," Tazuna said as they ate that evening. "Especially you, Naruko-san. Your help has been extremely helpful. I wanted to ask this before, but why are you still here even when I lied about the request details?" he asked of them. "Not doing right when you know it is right is a coward's way. There are no weak soldiers under a valiant commander," Kakashi quoted in answer, causing Tsunami and Tazuna to express their confusion. "They're the teachings of the previous Hokage," he explained. "Why?" Inari said quietly, drawing the attention to him. Naruto questioned lazily. Inari stood up, slamming his hands on the table. Why are you trying so hard that you end up like that? He yelled at them, referring to how the three genin looked worn and beaten up from training. You can't beat Gato's men even if you train. No matter how hard you try and say those good-looking words, weak people are going to lose against strong people. Shut up, we're different from you. We've trained for years to become strong. Unlike you, we don't bitch and moan when life gets tough, we rise to the challenge and beat it down. A few mercenaries aren't going to beat us. Naruto said. Shut up, it pisses me off when I watch you. You don't know anything about this country, and you're so nosy. I'm different from you, someone who doesn't know any real pain and just laughs all the time. Inari yelled at her. Is that why you're pretending to be the main character of a tragedy and just crying? An idiot like you can just keep crying. You crybaby. Keep pretending you're the only one who knows pain in this world if you want to and judge others without knowing what they've been through. But I won't be like that. I'll stand up against the things that are pushing me down and beat them back. Naruto told him off coldly. Then she stood up, walking to the front door where she stopped and glared over her shoulder. You say I don't know anything about this country? Every day when I walked with your old man through town I saw how horrible the state of this country is. How children are begging on the streets and sleeping in cardboard boxes. And Gato's the fault, so I'll rip his head off, even if it costs me my life. I promise you that. Then she left. Later Inari was sitting on the dock of the house when Kakashi walked up to him. May I? He asked before sitting down. Naruto-chan didn't say that out of spite. She's stubborn. We heard about your father from Tazuna-san. Naruto is the same as you in that she had no father when she was young. Actually, he doesn't even know what parents are. She also didn't have a single friend. However, I never saw her grow timid, get sulky, or cry. She's always desperate to make people recognize her for who she is. And she's able to put her life on the line for that dream. She probably got bored of crying a long time ago. Kakashi explained to Inari. That's why she knows the true meaning of being strong. Just like your father, Naruto might be the one who understands you the most. What Naruto said to you before, those are probably the words she's been telling herself over and over again. He left Inari with those words, only giving Naruto, who was lying on the roof of the building, a glance before walking inside. Before going to bed that night, Team 7 had held a meeting where Kakashi told them that he expected Zabuza to appear the next day and they would all go to the bridge to protect Tazuna. Kaka ni, Naruto called out when they were getting ready to go to bed. Kakashi returned. If Zabuza and his ally shows up, will you let me fight Zabuza? She asked of him, shocking everyone into dead stop. Naruto, are you crazy? You can't fight that man. Even Sensei had trouble against him. Sakura exclaimed. Naruto ignored her however and kept her stare on Kakashi. I can't let you do that, Naruto-chan, no matter how much you've trained. Kakashi told her. I know Zabuza is a strong fighter, but the reason he is feared is because of his silent killing. But this whole week I've trained on being able to counteract that. I can sense all metal in a wide area around me, and his Kabikirabocho is going to be like a bright light in the dark of night. I know I can beat him in a straight-up fight. Face it, Kaka ni, I'm better equipped to face him. Naruto tried to convince him. Naruto, I need you to face the other one. Kakashi started, but Naruto surprised them all by dropping to her hands and knees. Please sensei, I can't fight, the one in the mask. I beg you to not make me. Naruto pleaded with her head bowed low to hide the tears in her eyes. Her team was stunned by this turn of events, no one more so than Kakashi, who knew Naruto better than anyone. She didn't beg, it just wasn't something she did, yet here she was, begging him to let her face an opponent he had trouble facing. When she looked up at him with teary eyes, he knew something had happened during the week. Had she met Zabuza's Oinen and befriended her? She did almost say a name when she talked about the Oinen. Either way, he found he couldn't deny her wish when he spotted that she was trembling. Sighing, he closed his eye in resignation. Very well, I'll trust you to deal with Zabuza, at least until I've dealt with the Oinen. He said, shocking Sasuke and Sakura. You're letting her? They both exclaimed as Naruto sagged in relief. Thank you. She thanked him weakly. What's this? Tazuna exclaimed the next day when they reached the bridge to see all the workers beaten up and knocked out. What's wrong? What happened? Then a cold mist drifted in over the bridge. He's coming, Kakashi said, and they formed around Tazuna and readied themselves. Kakashi-sensei, this is his Kirigakure no Jutsu, right? Sakura asked. Then Zabuza's voice reached them. Sorry to keep you waiting, Kakashi. And you're still carrying those kids. He's shaking again, how pitiful. He said, referring to Sasuke. Then several Mizu Bunshin appeared and surrounded them. They're just clones. The real one is over there. Naruto said and pointed in front of her. One of the clones noticed Sasuke giving a smirk. I'm shaking with excitement. He told it. Go for it, Sasuke. Kakashi said. And as the clones attacked, Sasuke moved and destroyed all of them. Oh, he can defeat the water clones. That kid's gotten stronger. A rival has appeared for you, Haku. And that other one noticed where I was. Zabuza said as Haku, and he appeared from the mist. So it would seem. Haku said as the two teams faced off. Sorry, but Sasuke and Sakura here will be guarding Tazuna-san. Your opponents will be as Zabuza, Haku. Kakashi said as he and Naruto stepped forward. So that redhead will be your opponent, huh? We make the first move, go. Zabuza told Haku. Hi. Haku sped towards Naruto, only to be stopped by Kakashi. Sorry, but your opponent will be me. He said to Zabuza and Haku's shock. Huh, you would leave your little genin to fight me, Kakashi? Zabuza exclaimed. His answer came in the form of several tendrils of silver sand attacking him, forcing him to dodge back. If you want to fight Kaka-ni, you will have to kill me first. Naruto proclaimed as she appeared in front of him. Hey, fine, I'll kill you first. Zabuza said and readied his sword as the mist thickened. Tsunami was cleaning in the kitchen when the front door was cut to pieces, and two thugs walked in. So you're Tazuna's daughter. Sorry, but you're coming with us. One of them said. His companion took a step towards her, only for someone to appear standing on his shoulders. With a quick twist his neck was snapped and he fell to the floor dead. Sorry, but I can't allow that. Naruto said as she landed on the ground, glaring at the remaining thug. You bitch, he yelled, drawing his sword and charging at Naruto. Naruto however just scoffed and with a gesture of her hand his sword was ripped from his hands. Swords don't work on me, fool. Naruto said before the sword impaled its owner. Are you okay, Tsunami-san? I'm sorry you had to see that. She turned to Tsunami. Why yes I'm fine, just a little shook up. But why are you here? I thought with your team to protect Tosen? She answered. I'm just a clone. The original is with Tazuna-san and my teammates. I was left here in case something like this happened. Now, I should move these before Inari comes down. Naruto said. Hey, fine, I'll kill you first. Zabuza said and readied his sword as the mist thickened. Naruto tensed when Zabuza disappeared into the mist. You planned for this, Naruto, remember the plan. Get him mad so he'll mess up. She thought to herself before her senses warned her of Zabuza attacking from behind. Waiting until the last second she jumped, barely avoiding the blade from bisecting her. Spinning in the air she sent a blast of silver sand at Zabuza who barely managed to dodge and disappear back into the mist. Zabuza had been expecting to easily kill the redhead and move on to Kakashi, but somehow that brat had managed to dodge his attack and almost took his head off because of his surprise. Well, this time she wouldn't be able to dodge. He prepared to attack again but stopped when he noticed movement from Naruto. When he thinned the mist just enough for him to see her, his eyes widened in shock at what he saw. This should get him angry. Naruto thought as she manipulated her silver sand into forming a sword in her right hand. Not just any sword either, she made a silver Kabikirabocho. Sure enough, seconds later she heard Zabuza scream in rage as he charged at her with the original Kabikirabocho, ready to cut her in half. Swinging her sword with surprising dexterity, a feat only possible because she was manipulating the silver sword to help her move it, she intercepted Zabuza's swing. However, the impact still caused her to slide back from the sheer force of it. The next attack came from her left and she stabbed her sword into the ground, holding it with her right hand and bracing against it with her left arm, easily taking the blow. Zabuza spun, attacking from the right only for Naruto to jump over it and forcing him to block when she retaliated with downward attack. Landing on his sword, Naruto pushed off, flipping back and landing on a small platform she formed from her sand. Thrusting her left hand out she sent a barrage of tendrils at Zabuza, who had to dodge, block and slice them to not be impaled. Taking the chance while Zabuza was preoccupied, Naruto looked behind her to see how Kakashi was doing. What she saw wasn't what she was expecting. Behind her was several ice mirrors in a dome formation surrounding Kakashi, who was having a tough time dodging Senbon thrown by Haku, who somehow appeared on every mirror. Was it clones or pure speed perhaps? Her thoughts were interrupted by Zabuza. Apparently she had underestimated him and left him an opening to exploit. Sweden. Daibakufu no Jutsu. He exclaimed, causing water from the sea below the bridge to rise up and spiral around him before barreling toward Naruto and everyone behind her. Naruto's eyes widened in panic and she did the only thing she could think of. Raising her arms, she drew out a massive amount of silver sand from her seals, ripping her sleeves into shreds in the process, that rose and crashed into the water wave, creating an enormous wall and drew the attention of everyone else on the bridge. She gritted her teeth as she strained to keep the wall from being overcome by the water wave, until finally the wave receded, running off the sides of the bridge. Letting go of the silver, she fell to her knees as the wall crumbled. Taking deep breaths, she tried to recover some energy, keeping the silver that compact against such a great pressure had drained her severely. Her reprieve, however, was short as Zabuza appeared in front of her while swinging his sword from below. She was barely able to jump back in time, but she wasn't quite quick enough. Zabuza's blade caught her, ripping her jacket and mesh shirt, revealing the seal on her stomach, as well as cutting shallowly into her stomach. Luckily the wound wasn't very deep, but it stretched from her lower stomach all the way to her ribs, almost catching the bandages covering her chest. She cried out in pain as she stumbled backwards, but she couldn't help the small smirk that made it to her face. By forcing her to draw out so much silver and then rushing onto it to attack her, he had put himself in a trap. All conditions were cleared, and with a gesture of her arms the silver Zabuza was standing on, rose up, grabbing him by his arms and legs, and effectively making him unable to move. Naruto's smirk turned into a full-blown grin. "I finally caught you," she laughed. Zabuza was surprisingly calm about being captured. "Even if you can defeat me, you can't beat Haku," he told her. "I've taught her fighting techniques since she was a little girl. I taught her everything I knew." And she proceeded to improve her own techniques. As a result, she was able to produce results in any difficult situation imaginable. She threw away her belief in a heart and a life. "She is a fighting machine labeled as a ninja," Zabuza boasted. "On top of that, her techniques surpass mine. She has that dreadful ability, the Kekkei Genkei. I got myself an advanced tool." "Shut the fuck up. Don't fucking talk about her like that, you bastard," Naruto screamed at him. She would not allow Zabuza to talk about Haku that way. "I'll say whatever I want about Haku, she's mine. My powerful tool," Zabuza yelled. "Shut up," Naruto yelled and charged at him. She was going to finish it now. She pulled her right arm back while forming a knife hand. Then silver sand enveloped it, forming into a blade. Placing her left hand on it and channeling her lightning chakra into it, she screamed as the silver shone in a bright white. "Raiden! Hakushoku Kojin!" She drove the blade at Zabuza, but then someone jumped in front of him, willingly taking the blow right through the heart. Naruto was unable to comprehend what she was seeing as she gazed at Haku's eyes while she was drenched in her blood. In her shock, she let go of her sand, freeing Zabuza, but she didn't notice. The ice mirror from which Haku had appeared shattered next to them. More blood poured out when Haku moved with great effort and gripped Naruto's arm. "I'm sorry, Naruto-chan. I'll love you," she managed to say before death claimed her. But though she died, her grip on Naruto stayed strong. "She's dead? She's dead," Naruto screamed in her thoughts before Zabuza's chuckling voice broke through them. "Splendid, Haku," he said and took his sword. "I sure picked up something nice. She gave me this opportunity at the very end." Zabuza swung, aiming to cut both Naruto and Haku in two. It didn't go as he hoped, however, as the silver beneath them rose and blocked his attack. Naruto kneeled down, laying Haku on the ground, and closed her eyes. Then the silver around them moved violently, smashing Zabuza away. You fucking piece of shit. She gave her life for you, and you repay her by trying to slice her in half? I'll fucking kill you," Naruto said, her voice going from barely louder than a whisper to a loud roar. Steam surrounded Haku and her, spiraling upwards before there was an explosion of crimson chakra from Naruto, creating a tornado around her. The sheer force of it was enough to destroy the ground and lift the cracked stones into the air. Naruto's hair grew wilder, her teeth became sharper and longer, her nails became claws, and her whisker marks thickened. And when Zabuza looked into her eyes, he saw her pupils had become slitted and the sheer malevolence in them made his breath hitch. All the while the silver around her was whipping around frantically. Then the tornado of chakra exploded outwards in a wave, knocking everyone else off balance, and when they got their eyes back on Naruto, she was standing with a fiery aura of crimson chakra and the silver sand slowly circling her. Naruto, Sakura said shakily. Sasuke, who was next to her, settled for staring in fascination and slight jealousy at the power Naruto was emitting. Naruto growled lowly, fighting to keep from losing herself to the incredible power coursing through her. She knew what it was the Kyuubi's chakra. She knew she had to stay in control, or her team would also be in danger. Therefore she concentrated all her anger on the man standing in front of her. On instinct she focused the volatile chakra in her feet and moved faster than she ever had before. Disappearing from sight, she reappeared in the air next to Zabuza, launching a heavy kick which he was barely able to block with the flat side of his sword, flinging her back. Naruto! She heard Kakashi yell and felt him get closer. Stay back, Kakashi. This is my fight. Don't you dare get in the way. She yelled back, her voice distorted from the Kyuubi's chakra. Then they heard Zabuza laugh. It seems I'm not the only demon here. So let's have a clash of demons. Zabuza released his own chakra, which took the shape of a large demon head above him. Naruto growled in response. They charged each other, Zabuza's Kabikirabocho clashing with Naruto's silver sand. Naruto was surprised. She hadn't moved the silver, it had moved on its own to protect her. She slashed at Zabuza, who backed away before coming back at her, appearing behind her swinging, but again Naruto's silver protected her, allowing her to jump over him and kick him in the head before slashing his chest with her claws. Not letting up, she sent a blade of silver at him. When she landed, Zabuza spun the side and avoided it, only to get hit by a fist made of silver, staggering him. When Naruto charged him again, he slashed at her from the right, expecting her to dodge. But he was caught off guard when silver sand gathered over her palm like a glove and she simply caught the sword with her hand. Then she did something that managed to terrify him. She growled and glared into his eyes, and he swore he saw the image of a monstrous fox appear behind her, before she snapped the blade in half. Throwing the broken part away, she stalked towards Zabuza as he took shaking steps away. She broke my sword. What is she? I'm shaking, I'm terrified of the girl in front of me. He thought to himself before he was grabbed by Naruto's silver sand and suspended a few inches from the ground. Die, you fucking bastard. Naruto growled and plunged her hand into his chest, and Zabuza screamed as she ripped his heart out, showing it to his dying eyes before crushing it in her hand. She breathed deeply, believing it to be over, and dropped Zabuza's corpse as the crimson chakra receded. But then someone's voice broke through the silence. Oh, it seems he was beaten pretty badly. I'm disappointed. They all looked to the end of the bridge, spotting a man in an expensive costume in front of at least 50 bandits. Tazuna's eyes widened in fear. Gato. Naruto twitched when she heard him, her anger returning and causing the Kyuubi's chakra to return even stronger. She glared at the crowd of bandits and walked towards them. You are Gato? She asked the man at the front. Getting a boastful affirmative, she roared and charged at him, her sand following. Gato stepped back in fear and yelled at his guards to kill her. Idiot, do you think you can beat so many on your own? One of them yelled at her before she reached him, and with a quick slash of her claws ripped his throat open. She ducked and weaved inside the group, killing anyone in reach while her silver blocked any attempt at attacking her. When she reached the middle of it all, her silver sand gathered around her and turned into a sphere of silver, which she sat inside. The thugs all banged on it with their weapons, hoping to break through it. Then they noticed all the silver beneath them was moving, gathering around the sphere. Getting a bad feeling, they back off from it, but it was too late. All the silver circling the sphere shot out as shards, ripping into them and tearing them apart. Left was only Gato, writhing on the ground holding his leg that had been hit and stripped of almost all its flesh. The sphere of silver opened and turned into its sand state again, circling around Naruto as she stalked towards Gato. The Kyuubi's chakra had mainly left Naruto, the only sign of it being her slitted eyes, and Gato whimpered when he looked into them. Naruto formed a blade out of her silver and impaled Gato in the leg, causing him to cry out. Then she pulled it out and created another blade, this time impaling both his arms. She continued in this way, creating more and more blades every time she pulled out, lost in a haze of hate until Kakashi grabbed her shoulders and shook her. "Naruto, that's enough. Calm down," he commanded her. His voice snapped her out her anger and she stared at him in confusion, noticing they were the only ones still alive on the bridge. Her team and Tazuna was gone. "Kei Kaka ni?" she asked hoarsely. "It's enough, Naruto, rest now. You won," Kakashi told her. He barely finished the sentence before Naruto passed out in exhaustion, both physical and mental. Unseen, a man snuck away after having witnessed the whole thing. He had something very interesting to report to his superiors. 3 days later, Naruto woke up. For a while she just stared at the ceiling, wondering where she was. Then everything came back, the mission, the first fight with Zabuza, seeing the state of the country, and meeting Haku. She clenched her eyes shut. Haku, who she had fallen in love with, and who she had killed. She held up her hands and noticed they weren't bloody anymore. Someone must have cleaned her. Then why did she feel like she was still covered in blood? Haku's blood. She clenched her hands when they started trembling and she felt the need to vomit. She pulled herself from the bed, and walked 2 steps before almost falling to the ground if it wasn't for someone catching her and setting her down gently on her knees. Then there was a bucket beneath her and she couldn't hold it in. Once she was done she looked and saw it was Kakashi who had helped her. She took his offered hand and let him take her back to the bed. When he offered her a glass of water she eagerly took it and drained it. "How long was I out?" she asked him quietly. 3 days. Kakashi answered as he sat down beside her bed. "Between going through so much in such a short time and using so much of its chakra, your body took quite the beating." If he was honest, she still looked horrible. Tsunami and Sakura had washed the blood off her, and any wounds were healed by the Kyuubi, but her hair was even more messy than normal and she looked like she hadn't slept in days, and worst was her eyes. There was barely any life in them, and he just hoped she would recover. He had suspected she had met Haku before the battle, otherwise she wouldn't have asked to fight Zabuza. And her reaction to accidentally killing Haku and Zabuza's actions after it just confirmed it, and he could see now she was crushed. "How are you feeling?" he asked carefully. Naruto ignored his question. "What did you do with her?" she asked instead. Kakashi hesitated before answering. "We buried her up on a cliff. I sealed Zabuza and the Kabikirabocho in a scroll, for proof of what you did. Take me there," Naruto told him. "Naruto, you're not." "Now Kakashi," she interrupted him. "Please." Kakashi gave a sigh and gave in, helping her out of the bed, and Naruto noticed for the first time that was only wearing her underwear and a nightgown, probably Tsunami's as it was quite big on her. With Kakashi's help she managed to get downstairs where her teammates and Tazuna's family was sitting by the kitchen table. Sakura was the first to notice them and quickly stood up when she saw Naruto. "Naruto, are you okay?" she asked as she rushed to her side. Naruto managed a small smile. "I'll be fine, Sakura." Sakura wasn't convinced but decided to not pursue the subject. "Where are you going?" she asked when Naruto started walking to the door with Kakashi following closely behind in case her strength failed her. "She wants to see the grave," Kakashi answered. "We'll be back soon." Naruto stared at the Haku's grave, trying to not break down. Kakashi stood a few steps behind her. "You met her, didn't you?" "Before the fight?" Kakashi asked. Naruto's eyes didn't leave Haku's grave. "Yeah, the morning after Tazuna-san told us about Kaiza. We met every day until the day before the fight. And I fell in love with her, Kaka-ni. And then I killed her," she told him with a trembling voice until she screamed the last part and fell to her knees. She felt Kakashi put his hand on her shoulder. He didn't say anything but she accepted his comfort. "What did you do with her things?" she asked after a few minutes. "I sealed everything except her clothes in a scroll, as well as Zabuza and his things in a different one," Kakashi told her. Naruto nodded. "Give me the one with her things, and tell me everything you learned of her when you fought her," she asked of him. Kakashi agreed to her request, and as she unsealed Haku's belongings he told her of his experience fighting her. How she effectively used Senbon, her impressive speed and her hide-in techniques. Naruto picked up Haku's mask and stared at it. "Could you give me some time alone?" she asked Kakashi, who nodded and said he'd come get her if she wasn't back in 2 hours. Once she was alone she let her thoughts drift. Ninja are not supposed to seek their reason to exist. It's important that they exist as a tool. She quoted to herself from the ninja rulebook. If that's what being a true ninja is, can I really do it? I used to believe so, but I don't know anymore. Ninja unconsciously suffer from that idea, like Haku. Haku's smiling face flashed before her eyes. No, she declared. I won't follow that path. I'll make my own way of the ninja. Ninja are humans. If we deny that, then we lose sight of what true strength is, right, Haku? She said to the sky. We've completed the bridge, thanks to you, but we're going to miss you. Tazuna said as they made their farewells. Be well, Tsunami told them. Thank you for everything. Kakashi said. We'll be sure to come and visit again one day. Sakura told them as Sasuke and Kakashi bid farewell. Naruto stood a small distance behind them, in a new set of her clothes, as the other pair had been completely ruined. Added to her attire was Haku's mask, hanging on her waist. She had also moved her Hite-8 to her neck. She had decided to keep Haku's mask as a reminder, so she would never forget. The only thing she had done with it was remove the Kirigakure sign on it and changed it to the Konoha symbol. During the few days they stayed after the bridge fight, Naruto had kept mainly to herself and had barely spoken, something that anyone knowing her would worry about, and Kakashi was definitely worrying. He was even thinking about asking the Hokage to make Naruto have a session with Yamanaka Inoichi. Maybe it wasn't necessary, but he didn't want to risk anything, and he knew that even if she was fine that this mission had changed her. He was right, the mission had changed Naruto. It revealed the pain of losing someone close. And she would do everything in her power to never lose someone again. The reason why she was so quiet was simple. She had been thinking about everything that had happened, and she had decided, she would mourn and remember Haku, but she wouldn't let it stop her life. She would cherish that she had known Haku, and what she had taught her. That said, she doubted she'd ever return to the person she was before this mission. No, she had experienced the loss of a loved one and it had changed her, she accepted that. Sasuke and Sakura had of course wanted to question her about the red chakra they had seen, but Kakashi had warned them to not talk about that until they talked to the Hokage. When her team joined her, Naruto waved to the wave inhabitants before turning and walking away. That girl saved this country and gave us hope again. I think it's only right that we name this bridge after her, don't you think? The Great Naruto Bridge, Tazuna declared. Naruto was sleeping, looking quite peaceful. However, her mind was anything but that. Squelch. The satisfying sound of stabbing through Zabuza's flesh. But then Zabuza turned into Haku, staring at her in hurt and betrayal. You killed me, she said as blood poured from her mouth. No, 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 no. Please no, I didn't mean to. I didn't want you to die. Naruto yelled. Haku faded away before reappearing behind her. You killed me, you should die as well. Naruto heard before a hand stabbed her through the heart. Ah! Naruto sat up screaming and stared at her room blankly, panting with her heart beating rapidly, drenched in cold sweat. After a few minutes she calmed down and looked at the clock, seeing it was 7 a.m. and with a sigh she rose from her bed, noticing she was still trembling slightly. She dragged herself into her bathroom, undressing as she went. Stepping into her shower she turned it on, relaxing under the warm water. Once she had washed and dried herself off, she wrapped the towel around herself and moved to the kitchen. While she made herself something to eat, she thought about the day they arrived back in the village a week ago. And then we came back here. Kakashi finished his report as they stood before the Hokage. I see, very well done Team 7. I received the letter you sent during the mission, but since you stated you believed you could handle the mission, I didn't send anyone after you. After hearing your report, I wish I had. Hiruzen stated before turning to the genin. You three have done something extraordinary and should be proud. This mission will be put as an A- ranked mission and you will be rewarded as such. Naruto-chan, you will also get the bounty on Zabuza. As for his sword, I'm sure Kirigakure will want it back once their civil war is finished. Congratulations on your first A-rank completed. He praised them. Sakura beamed at the praise while Sasuke gave a smirk. Naruto however didn't react in any way, which was understandable considering the events of the mission. However, the dead look in her eyes worried the Sandame. Sakura-chan, Sasuke-kun, you are dismissed. I wish to speak to Kakashi-kun and Naruto-chan in private. I advise you to not speak about what you saw on the bridge regarding Naruto-chan to anyone. It is an S-rank secret, with the penalty of death for anyone but me or Naruto-chan who speaks of it without permission. He warned them. Once they had left, Hiruzen reached into his drawer and pulled out a small black book and threw it to Kakashi. "Open it on the marked page," he said when Kakashi looked at him. Doing his ask, Kakashi's eyes widened before handing the book to Naruto. Naruto raised an eyebrow and looked at the page, her own eyes widening in shock. On the page was a picture of her ninja registration as well as info on her. Name: Uzumaki Naruto. Allegiance: Konohagakure no Sato. Rank: Genin. Ninja registration: 012607. Threat level: High B rank. Age: 16. Height: 163 centimeters. Weight: 46.9 kilograms. Blood type: B. Uzumaki-san is considered a very dangerous person, known for defeating and killing Momochi Zabuza, as well as over 50 bandits soon after single-handedly in Nami no Kuni and saving the country. She is considered a hero to the people of Nami no Kuni for these acts. She was observed using silver sand as her main means of attack and defense, presumable using Jishin, in a style similar to the Sandame and Yondaime case cage. She is also proficient with Raiden, and presumably Doden as well. She has been seen using a red chakra when angered, giving her the possible status as a Jinchuriki. Because of this and her own impressive skills, great caution is advised should you ever meet this upcoming genin. Known alias: Jinsa no Naruko. Bounties: 0 Ryo. Naruko blinked when she finished reading. "I'm in the bingo book," she said disbelievingly. Hiruzen nodded his head. "Yes. It would seem someone saw your battle on the bridge. It's quite an accomplishment, being rated as a B rank while still a genin. However, it's a double-edged sword. As you read, you are now under suspicion of being a Jinchuriki by the other countries. You will have to be careful. While you have gained recognition and renown, you have also gained many new enemies. Unfortunately, there is nothing we can do about it. So all I can say is, congratulations, Jinsa no Naruko." Once she finished her breakfast, she dressed and looked herself in the mirror, frowning when she saw how bad she looked. She looked like she hadn't slept in a week, which wasn't far off. Every time she tried to sleep, she'd experience some kind of nightmare involving Haku's death by her hand, so safe to say, she hadn't slept much. Picking up Haku's mask from the table under the mirror, she put it on. Satisfied with it, she opened the door, ready to face whatever mission they would be sent on. About an hour later, Naruko arrived at one of the big gates of Konoha, joining Sakura and Sasuke, who were already there. Kakashi-sensei never fails to keep us waiting. Sakura sighed half an hour later, getting agreements from her teammates. "Naruko, are you sure you're okay? I know we had a week off, but you went through a lot," Sakura asked with concern. Naruko smiled behind her mask. "I'll be fine, Sakura. But thank you," she said, even though she wasn't sure if she would be fine. The nightmares were only getting worse and worse, and honestly it was tearing on her. "Today's mission is just a B rank, it shouldn't be any problem." Sasuke spoke up. "Sasuke is right, but don't let your guard down, our last mission started as a C rank after all," Kakashi said as he arrived. "Kakashi-sensei," Sakura greeted. "You were late, as always." Naruko complained. "Yeah, sorry about that. But today I was trapped in a labyrinth of love." Kakashi lied. "That's a lie," Sakura yelled. "We've got a missing person. A man named Genmai of Anaho village vanished in the hills," Kakashi said once they had gotten on their way and threw a photo to Sakura. "You mean he got lost?" she questioned. "Not exactly. I hear there are lots of bandits around here. Might even have been an abduction," Kakashi told them. "If it's just bandits, then it shouldn't be a problem," Naruko said. Kakashi nodded. "Exactly, but like I said before, don't get overconfident and stay alert." 2 hours later they reached the forested hills where Genmai had vanished. "Okay, we'll make this our reconnaissance point," Kakashi decided before he sensed something. "Okay, let's get this over with quick," Naruko said. "No, you guys wait here," Kakashi ordered them before jumping off. Naruko narrowed her eyes as they watched Kakashi disappear into the forest. "Something's wrong," she murmured. "Why do you think that?" Sakura asked her. "Kakani wouldn't take off like that otherwise," she answered. "So what should we do?" Sakura questioned. "We'll stay here. That's what he told us to do," Sasuke said, getting a reluctant nod from Naruko. "I sensed something amiss, but..." Kakashi thought to himself before being interrupted by someone calling for help. Quickly stopping and hiding behind a tree, he spotted a man being chased by a wolf. Kakashi's eyes widened in surprise. It was Genmai. Genmai fell and the wolf attacked him. "Hold your breath," Kakashi called out and threw a smoke bomb. The bomb exploded, startling the wolf and causing it to run away. "Close call, Genmai-san," Kakashi said as he landed next to him. "Thank you," Genmai said before asking, "Why do you know my name?" "I'm from Konoha. I've been asked to find you," Kakashi explained and kneeled down. "Where have you been?" Genmai shook his head. "I don't know. I can't remember." "You don't remember?" Kakashi said in surprise before offering his hand to Genmai. However, as soon as Genmai took it, a seal appeared around them in a blue light. "What was that?" Sakura exclaimed when they saw the bright blue light in the distance. Then Naruto felt something coming towards them. "Scatter!" she yelled, grabbing Sakura and pulling her to the side as Sasuke jumped in the other direction just as something crashed down where they were just standing. "What the?" Sakura questioned. "Show yourself," Sasuke called out into the dust that had been kicked up. The dust cleared, showing 3 enemy ninja. "You're with Kakashi, aren't you?" the one in the middle asked. He had short black hair which was concealed by a gray shark-like top complete with a hood which resembled a shark's head, with an appendage on the back that resembled a dorsal fin and dark pants. He also had 2 dark violet markings under his eyes. Next to him was a large, bulky man dressed in raindrop-patterned blue and green battle garb, complete with mask, snake hood, tribal markings under his eyes, and a massive shuriken on his back, as well as an attractive woman with brown spiky hair. Mask and wearing a purple battle tunic with the same raindrop pattern on it as her compatriots and armed with a pair of kama. "What if we are?" Naruto questioned. "We were wondering if you'd like to play," the apparent leader said before the 3 of them charged. The leader going for Naruto, the bulky man going for Sasuke and the woman going for Sakura. Sakura threw a series of kunai at the approaching woman, who easily blocked them with her weapons before slicing at her. The genin did her best to avoid the scythes, thanking Kakashi in her head for the evasion training he had put her through. Eventually, though, she was forced to cross her arms and block a kick the woman sent at her. The blow slammed into her guard and sent her flying through the air, bouncing across the ground before crashing into a tree. Sakura cried out in agony and held her shoulder, looking up in bewilderment. "Who the hell are you?" The woman lowered the leg she used to kick and smirked at the downed teen. "I'm Yamame. Now that you know the name of the person who's going to kill you, you're mine," Yamame told the pink-haired genin. Seeing the woman raise her weapons in preparation, Sakura scrambled to her feet and took off into the woods, hoping to gain some time to figure out a plan. "Fuck," Naruto cursed, seeing the woman chase after Sakura. She was strong, and Sakura wasn't a direct fighter, being more of a supporter with her genjutsu and medical skills. Unfortunately, neither she nor Sasuke could help her, as they had their own problems. "You don't have time to look at your teammate, girl," the man in front of her yelled, attacking her with a flurry of fists and kicks. Naruto dodged as many as she could before parrying a strike and sending a silver kunai from her sleeve at her opponent, who flipped back to avoid it. "Who the hell are you?" Naruto yelled at him. Her opponent chuckled. "My name is Kajika," he introduced himself before speeding through hand seals. "Suiden. Suiryuden no Jutsu," he yelled, drawing water from a nearby river and forming it into a giant dragon that charged at Naruto. In return, Naruto summoned forth a mass of silver sand from her sleeves and formed the ram seal before switching to the dragon seal. Jinryuden. The silver formed into a massive dragon, twice the size of Kajika's water dragon. Her dragon barreled through it easily and charged Kajika. Kajika dodged at the last second, barely avoiding from being swallowed by the silver dragon, and threw a couple of kunai at Naruto. To his disappointment, they stopped before reaching her and turned and flew back at him. He parried them easily but discovered it was only a distraction as he saw Naruto form the tiger seal. Doden. Doryu Taiga. The ground underneath him was turned into a river of mud, throwing him off balance and pushing him backwards. Then Naruto sped through 3 more seals, again ending on dragon. Doden. Doryuden. A dragon-like head formed out of the mud river and fired balls of mud at him. At the same time, silver sand left over from the silver dragon formed into spikes that flew at him from behind. The mud bullets struck him head-on, launching him into the silver spikes, only for him to turn into water, and only Naruto's metal sense saved her from getting a kunai in the head from behind as she jumped away. Well, you're quite strong, aren't you? Kajika clapped as he stepped out from behind a tree. Sorry, but I don't have the luxury of holding back right now. Naruto told him. Then I guess I'll have to step it up, don't I? Kajika laughed before he formed the tiger seal and seemingly disappeared into thin air. Naruto narrowed her eyes. This is Maizigakure. She gave a slight smirk underneath her mask and lifted her hands, the silver sand around the clearing mimicking her movement and raising from the ground before spreading out, hovering in the air. Kajika, who was in a tree at the edge of the clearing, frowned. She's smart. If I try to attack her up close, she'll feel me move through her silver. Then he smirked and formed two Mizu Bunshin next to him that quickly moved to the different sides of the clearing, forming a triangle around the masked redhead. One of the clones charged in, moving fast enough to almost reach her before she reacted and impaled the clone with a mass of tendrils. Then a hissing sound was heard and Naruto's eyes widened in panic and she was barely able to raise a weak shield of silver sand before the clone exploded violently. The force of the blast broke through her shield and threw her backwards. She managed to land sliding on her feet, but the explosion disoriented her and she was barely able to dodge the water dragon coming after her. Kajika's second clone appeared in front of her and kicked at her, hitting her in the face and knocking her mask off. The kick flung her backwards into a tree before she destroyed the clone with a blast of silver sand. She cried out in pain as the back of her head slammed into the tree behind her and she was further disoriented. You lose. She heard and looked up at Kajika standing in the middle of the clearing holding the ram sign. Sweden. Reku Sujeki. He exclaimed, and from his mouth he shot numerous large darts of ice that flew at Naruto at blinding speeds. The shock of seeing the ice stalled Naruto and she realized she wouldn't be able to block the attack, or dodge it. In a vain attempt to protect herself she threw out her hands in front of her. Then something that she would never be able to quite understand happened. Her hands felt cold before a blast of chakras shot from them, hitting the ice darts, which stopped inches from her. As if this didn't shock her and Kajika enough, the ice then moved, converging and changing shape until it took a human form. Then it gained color and Naruto couldn't believe her eyes. The ice figure opened her eyes and smiled at Naruto. Hello, Naruto-chan. Haku? Naruto stuttered in disbelief. Yes, it's me. When I blocked your attack I stored some of my chakra into you so that I could appear if you ever needed me. Haku explained as tears appeared in Naruto's eyes. You probably blame yourself for my death, and I don't want that. I choose my own death. I'm sorry if I caused you grief. Haku, I love you Naruto-chan and I will always be with you. But please stop blaming yourself. Find someone to share your love with, and have many children for me, okay? Haku asked of her with a smile. And remember that you'll never walk alone, because I'll be there with you. In here. Haku told her and placed her hand on Naruto's heart and gave her a kiss on the forehead before she burst into snow. Naruto trembled for a few seconds before she clenched her fists. Okay Haku-chan, I got you, she whispered with a small smile. Standing up she looked at the still baffled Kajika. Sorry, but I can't lose here. The fire in Naruto's eyes that had disappeared with Haku's death was back as she glared at her opponent, who started going through hand seals again. He wouldn't have the time though, as all the silver in the clearing rose into the air, forming into 1,000 senbon all around him. His eyes widened in fear, realizing he had no way out. Hijutsu. Sensatsu Jinsho. Naruto intoned, and the senbon all shot toward Kajika and he could barely scream before he was pierced 1,000 times. Naruto sighed. There was no sign of a clone or kawarimi being used, meaning she had won. She didn't notice a tiny small snake slither out of Kajika's ear, too occupied by the sudden chakra build up from his body. She didn't have to be a genius to realize something bad was imminent, so she quickly called all the silver senbon to her and formed a thick wall of silver, just before Kajika exploded in a violent explosion. Lowering the wall and drawing the silver back into her seals, she looked at the massive crater before putting her mask back on and leaving to find her teammates. Shit, was the mantra going through Sakura's head as she hid against a tree inside a couple of bushes. I can't keep up with her. Sakura panted. So far she had gained several cuts and bruises from her opponent. She's faster and stronger than I am, and she has that technique that makes her disappear. The sound of a blade cutting through air alarmed her and she leapt out of the way and barely avoided losing her head to her invisible opponent. She took off running, hearing footsteps chasing her. She twirled and threw a kunai with an explosive tag on it behind her. The telltale sound of it being parried was heard before an explosion went off and she heard Yamame yell in pain as she was blasted into a tree. Not stopping, Sakura kept running until she was a fair distance away. She turned around and formed a few hand seals. Megan. Kokoni Arizu no Jutsu. She murmured, enacting her plan. Then she sped through a few more hand seals and placed her second jutsu. Megan. Niju Kokoni Arizu no Jutsu. Then she caught a shimmer in the air in front of her and prayed her plan would work. She leaned to the right, feeling the Kama miss her by a broad margin, and gained some confidence. It was working. Yamame was getting really frustrated. For some reason she couldn't hit the pink-haired brat anymore. Every time she thought she would, the genin somehow moved and dodged at the last second. She swung her right Kama in a diagonal line, and again the genin dodged, but this time she countered, launching a punch towards her face. Yamame smirked as she easily dodged it, or so she thought. A fist impacted her cheek and sent her flying back, her jutsu being dispelled as well. What the hell was that? She yelled out loud. She knew she had dodged the fist, she had seen it go past her, unless. Her eyes narrowed. Genjutsu? She made the ram seal? Kai. She yelled and immediately saw her opponent disappear as the real one appeared only a few inches away. That's real clever of you, girl. You have a pretty powerful punch. But now you pissed me off, she said, and charged at the girl who drew a kunai and prepared herself. When she reached Sakura, she swung both her scythes, aiming to use them like a scissor and cut the girl's head off. However, before her scythes made contact with her neck, they hit something solid, and Sakura faded away. Yamame's eyes widened when she saw she had attacked a tree, and then she heard a hissing sound. She looked down and saw an explosion tag right before it exploded. Ah! She screamed as it burned her and sent her spiraling back, right into Sakura, who was holding a kunai. NGH. She grunted when she felt it tear into her torso. Feeling the knife bury up into its hilt, Sakura growled and twisted it further in as she slid back from the force of catching her opponent. Yamame coughed. That was really well done. She choked out, her form lurching as more blood poured from the wound in her stomach. I underestimated you. Sakura flinched when she saw the woman's expression falter somewhat. Never underestimate your opponent. Rule number 1 of shinobi combat. Guess I learned that the hard way, she said before letting death grasp her, her eyes closing and her strength leaving her. The moment her opponent slipped, Sakura felt Yamame's entire weight fall on top of her, slumped over her shoulder like a mannequin. Startled, Sakura immediately withdrew her kunai and stumbled back, the woman's body falling to its knees before falling flat with a deafening thud. Breathing heavily, the pink-haired girl glared at the corpse, her bloody kunai still raised defensively in case she was playing possum. However, after a minute with nothing but her pants of exhaustion and anxiety filling the air, Sakura dropped her stance and looked down at her hands. She had been holding the kunai with both hands, so as expected they were drenched in blood. She dropped to her knees and allowed the kunai she was holding to fall from her grip. Trembling, her expression slowly twisted from a look of shock to one of utter distress, and she sobbed, covering her eyes, doing her best to stop the tears as she fell into hysterics. Who wouldn't after nearly losing their life and taking their one for the first time? Sasuke cried out in pain as he was kicked into a big rock. Spitting out some blood, he cursed. The fight had started very even. His opponent, who had introduced himself as Iwana, had used his Fuma Shuriken as a buzzsaw to slice him in half, which Sasuke had flipped over before pulling out his own Fuma Shuriken and throwing it at the bulky man. Iwana had simply used his own to smack it away and had them been forced to dodge as Sasuke sent a Gokakyu his way. After that, though Sasuke had a tough time, Iwana stopped screwing around and used Maizigakure no Jutsu to blend in with the environment like his teammates, and only Sasuke's instinct saved him from being in two pieces. If he had his Sharingan, it wouldn't be a big deal, but as it was, all he could do was keep moving and keep his ears sharp. Hearing the sound of metal cutting through the air, Sasuke leapt back as a kunai planted itself in the ground where he'd been standing. Flipping through hand seals, he inhaled in Kaden Gokakyu no Jutsu. He exhaled sharply through his fingers, a ball of fire shooting out into the tree the kunai had come from, where it exploded and scattered fire all over the place. Where'd he go? Getting tired of the cat and mouse game, Sasuke took off. When he reached a clearing, he quickly spun and flung a set of kunai in every direction around him. Unseen was a wire connected to each of them, leading to his hands. Try hiding now, Sasuke said and sped through hand seals. Kaden. Ryuka no Jutsu. Breathing out fire on the cords they quickly caught ignited, and the fire ran along each wire before setting fire to everything around him. Iwana was forced out from the trees, unfortunately for him leaving a smoke trail, allowing Sasuke to see him. Iwana deflected the shuriken thrown from Sasuke, but when he landed he felt something slice into his throat. The last thing he saw was a pair of Sharingan glaring at him. Sasuke sighed as he looked at the corpse. I guess I should thank you, I got my Sharingan finally, he said with a small smirk before remembering about his teammates and took off in search of them. Sasuke, Naruto called out when she spotted him leaping through the trees. When he snapped his head towards her she blinked at his eyes. Naruto, you okay? He asked her. Naruto nodded with a hidden smile. Yeah, I haven't felt this good in weeks. I guess you're fine, seeing as you got your Sharingan. A loud boom cut any thoughts of further conversation. Sakura, they both exclaimed and rushed towards the explosion. Barely a minute later they arrived at the source of the disturbance. A crater with a destroyed tree in the middle, and a few feet away from it. Sakura, Naruto called out and rushed over to the kneeling girl, Sasuke close behind. Kneeling down next to her, Naruto placed a hand on her trembling shoulder and took her mask off. Hey, Sakura, are you okay? Sakura looked up at Naruto and Sasuke with an exhausted expression on her face. Her eyes were bloodshot from crying and she looked like she was about to fall asleep. She blinked when she registered the concerned faces of her teammates. Sasuke-kun, Naruto? Seeing she was okay, the Uchiha looked towards the body nearby. Recognizing it as the woman who had attacked Sakura, and spotting the pool of blood beneath her, as well as the bloody kunai lying in front of the team, the Uchiha put together what had happened. Kneeling down on Sakura's other side he squeezed her shoulder reassuringly. Your first kill? He asked, getting Naruto to look at him before looking around the area and putting the pieces together. Me too, Sasuke said, which snapped both his teammates' gaze towards him in surprise. Sasuke-kun? You? Sakura trailed off. The boy smiled at her. Remember, we're shinobi. Stuff like this happens to us all the time. No matter what the circumstances, no matter where we are or who we're dealing with, we must always be prepared to fight and kill. Kakashi-sensei told us that. That's the way the world works, and that's how harsh and unforgiving the road we walk on is. But it's the one we chose, right? Sasuke's words, and the firmness and confidence he spoke them with, had Naruto smiling, and Sakura giving a reluctant nod. She braced herself tightly as Naruto hugged her lightly, giving her support. I did what I had to do. Sakura murmured, shivering. There was no other way. She wanted to kill us, so I had no choice but to kill her. It was to protect you, but she. Naruto's gaze hardened as she pulled back slightly and looked firmly into Sakura's eyes. Listen, what you did was a horrible thing. Taking a life is not easy. But you did it to protect yourself and you'll most likely have to do it again. You're not the one in the wrong here, she was, remember that. I know it's hard, but right now you have to push it away and focus, we're still on a mission. We have to find out what happened to Kakani, right? Her speech snapped Sakura out of it, and she shook her head furiously before looking up. Dismayed expression being replaced by one of determination, and she nodded. All right. Finding strength she pushed herself back up and brushed the blood of her hands. The three ran back to where they had been attacked in the beginning and Naruto pointed out the direction where Kakashi had gone to. But before they could get moving again, the former appeared from the forest. Kakani, Naruto exclaimed, what the fuck happened to you? Kakashi rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. Well, I found Genmai-san. But then I got stuck in a trap. It seems you had quite the adventure though, but save it until we get back. No need to tell your stories more than once. Unless there's something important you need to share? Sakura and I made our first kills. Sasuke said. I'm fine. Sakura is a little shook up though. Kakashi nodded with a frown and noted to speak to both of them soon. Naruto stepped forward. While I was fighting, I saw her, Haku. She saved me. Said she had planted her chakra in me if I would ever need her. She said with a solemn smile. Kakashi's eye widened. A chakra implant. He murmured and noticed Naruto looked more relaxed than he had seen her since Haku's death, and it made him smile. A few hours later they were back in Konoha, and after a report to the Hokage, and grabbing some dinner at Ichiraku's, Naruto walked into her apartment. She wanted nothing more than to collapse on her bed and sleep for a week, but she had something she had to do. Something she had been putting off. So after dressing down to her underwear and putting on her big sleep shirt, she sat down on her bed in a lotus position and focused inwards. When opened her eyes again, she found herself standing in ankle-deep water in front of a giant cage. "Kyuubi, show yourself," she called out. A rumble echoed throughout the room before the area behind the cage lit up, revealing the fox lying with his head on his paws. "So my jailer finally grazes me with her presence. It's been extremely lonely in here, you know," the Kyuubi said in mock hurt. "Oh? The mightiest of the Biju gets lonely? I'll have to make a note about that." Naruto smirked. A gust of wind almost knocked her on her ass as the Kyuubi snorted. "I may be a being of mass destruction, but I do have feelings, you know. Mostly hate, but still, it gets boring. You know you're not what I expected." Naruto mused. "Were you expecting a feral beast without reason? Have you never heard of the expression, cunning as a fox? Cunning doesn't necessarily mean smart though." Naruto smirked. The Kyuubi growled lightly. "So what does my jailer want with her lowly prisoner?" Naruto grew serious. "I want to make a deal." The Kyuubi raised an eyebrow as a grin made its way to his face. "I'm listening. Lend me your power when I ask for it, but do not try to take over, unless I'm willing to let you. In return I will let you experience everything I experience. And before I die, I will let you go free, under the protection of Konoha." Naruto offered, staring straight into the Kyuubi's eyes. A low rumble echoed through the room, growing louder until the giant fox was laughing hysterically, rolling around in his cage. While somewhat miffed at his reaction to her offer, Naruto couldn't help but be amused as she watched a fox the size of the Hokage monument roll around like a happy kid. Eventually the Kyuubi stopped laughing, lying on his back and looking at her upside down. "And how would you get the village that hates me to put me under their protection, and why do you assume I would want it?" Naruto smirked, having awaited these questions. "Firstly, I plan on becoming Hokage, and the village will have no choice but to obey my final order. Secondly, even if you don't want it, you need it. If you were under protection by Konoha, then it would discourage any other village from trying to seal you again, from risk of starting a war. Of course, if you ever felt inclined to help Konoha in return, that'd be nice." The Kyuubi rolled over and looked at her properly. "And how'd I know your village won't try to seal me again?" "Because the only one who can survive having you sealed inside them is an Uzumaki, and I will make sure any of my offspring never agree to seal you inside them. I give you my word on the life of Konoha," Naruto vowed. The Kyuubi was quiet for several minutes, staring at Naruto, who stared back equally as intense. "Very well, it's a deal. I will lend you my power when you require it. Guess I should warn you though, even without me trying to take over, my chakra is filled with hatred, and will make you more aggressive. If you use too much before you can control it, you'll go berserk." Naruto smiled with a nod, happy to get the Kyuubi's cooperation. She turned to leave before a thought struck her. "By the way, Kyuubi is just a title, isn't it? What's your name?" she asked. In return she got a grin. "Prove yourself to me, and I might tell you." Naruto snorted in amusement and said one last thing before she left. "You know, you were pretty cute when you were rolling around on the floor." When she was gone the Kyuubi chuckled. "Cheeky brat." That night Naruto slept peacefully for the first time since Haku's death.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.